Okay. Hey. I'll put the Ashashwai. Oh, Chinny. Yeah. It's actually not a visual novel, it's a regular novel that we're reading. So, I suppose with this, it's a lot better for listening since you don't really need to look at your screen. You can just listen. Because there's not really much interesting going on the screen, it's just me. Hello, Cody. Hi, hi, hi. How was your day? Have a good day. Hope work wasn't like too stressful or anything. There it is. Go ahead and move that. Move that there. Timing is perfect. Just got home. Let's go. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna move you guys over. You guys over here. And that might actually be good. I might be driving back home, so I can fall asleep at the wheel. No, don't do that. That's not ideal. Let's not do that. Where am I? Okay, there I am. Auto mod? Oh. It was stressful, it's all good. Now I got y'all to bitch about life too. Yeah? Screws that steers the car. No, not really. I believe that's for like if you're like driving down a long road. Like a long road, it's just like a straight line. uh Wait, hang on. I'm just moving you guys around. There you go. Okay, let me close my door. Turn on the lights too. Whoops. Oh my god. Keep knocking shit over. Sorry. This is an ASMR stream. Here I am knocking stuff over. Only one way to find out if it works or not. Do not. Okay, okay. But... yes, today we are reading Magical Girl Raising Project. Let's get cozy. Get cozy. Enjoy. enjoy the reading. Quick save before you try. Yeah. Okay. What is Magical Girl Racing Project? Simple and fun for beginners, yet deep enough for experts to get addicted. Beautiful card art from world-renowned artists. Highly animated characters you'd like you'd find in an action game. Oh, wait. Before I actually start reading this, I should probably explain what this story is about. So it's about it's about a mobile game called Magical Girl Raising Project. And 1 in tens of thousands of players actually get turned into a magical girl, like for real. And then it's pretty cool because like you get to be a magical girl. So awesome, right? But then the upper management says that there's too many magical girls. Despite there's too many of them. So we need to make sure the numbers are good, right? um and and so they're like, every week the least productive magical girl, so the magical girl who I guess saves the least people or does the least each week, she loses her powers. But as time goes on, the rules and stuff, the rules, the quota that they have to do each week starts becoming more sinister as time goes on. Yes. So that is the current plot. You're gonna say they lose their life? Probably. I feel like somebody is going to die. Highly animated characters like you'd find in an action game. 500 character types and 2,000 items. The combinations are infinite, completely free to play, no purchase required. Ever. Welcome to the world of dreams and magics. This is Magical Girl Raising Project, an RPG where you can become the ultimate magical girl. The Magical Kingdom has appointed you as Earth's guardian, a cute, fashionable, and powerful heroine who must use her powers to fight against the forces of darkness. But don't forget the magical pals, costumes, magic items, and catchphrases you also have at your disposal. Perhaps someone will become unalive. Not the TikTok speak. Defeat enemies to gain magical candies and become the magical girl of your dreams. The world is always in dire need of more of you. So be brave and take the first step. Your dreams will surely come true. Prologue. That night, Ako Hotoda was in a bind. Having gone straight to her part-time job after school, it wasn't until she had arrived at her front door, while after walking home along the road with the lone bus stop, that she realized that she'd lost her key. The small bit of metal would take forever to find under the best of circumstances, not to mention it was night out. It was fall, meaning the sun set earlier. Her only aid would be the weak lights of the street lamps and the moon. Of course, she could just wait until her aunt and uncle came home to unlock the door, but that wouldn't change the fact that she'd lost the key. They'd have to change the lock in case someone picked it up and decided to use it. The last thing she wanted was to be an inconvenience. 3 months ago, her father had been arrested for stabbing her mother to death. Oh, okay. I think the tone of this story has been set. And Ako's uncle, her mother's younger brother, took her in. She knew how much of a burden she was. She got to attend the same school, received an allowance, and wanted for nothing, but she was a constant nuisance. She'd once visited her father in jail, but he'd turned her away. Oh, Lens, thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. Welcome in. Get cozy. Yes. Between Higurashi and the current book that we're reading, I think you guys have probably noticed the pattern in the type of books that, the type of stories that I enjoy. That he had turned her away, saying, "Don't ever come back." At school, no one talked to Akko. For some reason, everybody knew about the arrangement between her parents, that the argument between her parents had turned badly. They whispered rumors about her incessantly. Sunshine and rainbows, right? Sometimes. One day we'll read a happy story. Now, even if the story is dark, that doesn't mean it can't have happy moments in it, right? For some reason, is that Ko? It is Ko. Welcome. Welcome, radio. I really like these stories too. Not complaining, just thought it was funny, yeah. Thanks for the head fat radio. Welcome in. Yeah, a wild bunny has appeared on your monitor. I'm doing good. Yeah. I'm doing good. We're good. Um where was I? Yes. At school, no one talked to Akko. For some reason, everyone knew about the argument between her parents that had turned deadly. And they whispered rumors about her incessantly. Mwah. Oh, thanks for the hydrate. I just made some tea actually. Hope that doesn't get cold. But no one talked to her. Akko was just a plague, a source of endless trouble for others. So she decided to kill herself. Oh, okay. Her mother had once complained tiredly, "You're as stubborn as your father." But the decision she had reached seemed wholly reasonable to Akko. Better this than to remain a nuisance. She had slowly began preparations for her suicide. She'd disposed of all of her personal effects, had written her will, and had been steadily stealing her uncle's sleeping pills here and there, so they wouldn't be missed, hiding them in her desk drawer. She only needed a little more to do the deed. But now she'd gone and lost the key. The whole point of killing herself was to keep from causing trouble. Yet, there she was, causing even more. Disgusted with herself for being stupid enough to lose her key at such a crucial juncture, she sank down on the doorstep, hugging her knees. In her mind, the missing key became a symbol of everything bad in her life. It was all she could think about, and tears started pouring from her eyes. Poor Akko. Are you okay? The voice was out of place. Maybe not so much around a middle schooler like Akko, but not one you're likely to hear in a residential neighborhood at night. Especially not one this adorable. If something's wrong, please tell me. Like being locked out of the house because you lost your key? Akko looked up to see a girl so beautiful her heart raced just looking at her. Her white skin was almost translucent against the darkness of the night. Her features were all flawlessly arranged on her perfect face. Her smile was slightly awkward, and the contrast with her striking appearance made it not much lovelier. Her outfit, however, was quite strange. At first glance, it seemed like a school uniform, but the style was way too garish. In fact, it was more like a cosplay. She had a scarf fringed with frills and a skirt adorned with white flowers. Her armbands were embezzled with some kind of school insignia, but it wasn't local. I think she's come into contact with a magical girl. The same crest decorated her knee-high socks. No, they were actually white boots. The moonlight illuminated her platinum blonde hair, which was done up with a ribbon and flowers of the purest white. Wish she had AirPods. Sorry, Chinny. Yes, hi, hello. Bad grenades. Thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. Welcome in. The words magical girl popped into Aiko's head. Stunned, she somehow managed to convey the fact that she had, in fact, lost her key. The girl nodded and said, "I'll be right back," then vanished with a gust of wind and a fruity scent tickling Aiko's nose. Oh, Night Rain Devil. Hello. Hi, welcome. How are you? Welcome to the stream. She had met a real magical girl. 5 minutes later, the girl returned, breathing heavily. "Is this your key?" It was indeed hers. "Don't go losing it again now." The girl smiled, and Akko, captivated, stood to thank her. Somehow, even though they looked nothing alike, her expression reminded Akko of her mother, back when she still loved her father. It was a cheerful smile that made others happy to see it. She bowed and thanked the girl. But when she looked up, no one was there. Her benefactor had... Oh, Cafe Kuro! Oh, it's Kuro, hi! Hello, hello! Welcome, Raiders! Hi! Welcome in. Hi, I'm Colin Amai. I am a dream delivery ASMR artist. I'm in the middle of like a bit of a proper, I guess, rebrand, you could say. So stuff with so things aren't like particularly are a little disjointed right now. But thank you for the raid. You look so cute, thanks. Oh, no worries, no worries. Thank you so much for the raid. Thanks for sharing your community with me. I will do my best to take care of them while you rest. Yeah. Speaking of resting, if like cozy, like relaxing type streams are your jam, then I'm your girl. Yeah. I haven't seen a co-stream in so long. I think the last stream I watched was reading Torture Princess. Yeah? Yeah, we finished volume 1 of Torture Princess ages ago, didn't we? I need to get volume 2. This Torture Princess was a very good light novel. I really liked it. We were playing Ao Oni. Too spooky, so I decided some cozy and cute koala was the way to go. Yeah. Oh, I've been meaning to play Ao Oni. I've been wanting to play that forever. I feel like that's... I do like myself a good horror game. Yeah, I'll try my best to provide the coziest of vibes. Where was I? Screamed so much. Give chat a break, a kiss. Mwah. Gonna lurk for a bit, got him off the floors. Okay. uh, Me and the other pack buns, pack rabbits shall be here while you do that. um, Goodbye kiss. Okay, fine. Mwah. For tribal mopping. Alright. She bowed and thanked the girl, but when she looked up, no one was there. Her benefactor just had to have been a magical girl. Akko's spirit soared, and her heart felt warm. She didn't feel like dying anymore, now that she knew that magical girls were real. She'd been saved. Akko wondered if she became one too. If she did, would people need her? The prospect was exciting. Did someone out there need Akko? Chapter 1, Black and White. After the government merged several municipalities 4 years ago, the harbor metropolis of End City became the largest city in the area. It comprised of the futuristic business sector, where uniquely designed buildings jutted up around City Hall, mountainous villages, abandoned left to rot, a great hospital equipped with the latest medical technology, a massive factory that had gone bankrupt and had to be demolished. Altogether, this formed a uniquely twisted city, forced into being by the government. Good night, have a great stream. Good night, girl. Have good night. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and thanks again for the raid. Take care. Altogether, this formed a uniquely twisted city, forced into being by the government. And 6 years ago, reports of magical girls started flooding in from this end city. A car raced down the highway at blistering speeds, well above the speed limit. The driver heard a knock on the window. He turned to look, thinking it was a rock, and discovered a smiling witch riding on a broomstick. "You should slow down," she warned. As a truck bore down on a child chasing a ball into the street, a girl clad in armor appeared between them and stopped the truck with her bare hands, then disappeared without a word. Oh. As a guy hit on some young woman and refused to take no for an answer, a girl with dog-like ears ran up on all floors and dragged him away. The only thing witnesses could agree on was these girls were too beautiful to be human. Yet their appearances, their clothes, and the situations in which they appeared were all scattered and unrelated. No one could tell the story the same way twice. Girl in armor. Very cool, yeah. At first, people laughed it off as overreactive imaginations, tall tales, and general BS. But the sightings continued pouring in. A video of 2 angels in flight holding hands was even uploaded to a video sharing website, causing the rumors to spread like wildfire. It's real. No, it's gotta be fake. In the workplace, in the schools, on the net, people everywhere were talking. Sometimes self-professed recipients of their help stepped forward and shared their stories, fanning the debate over the believability of the videos and the existence of these girls. One witness swore upon asking one, "Who are you?" The girl answered, "I'm a magical girl." It was at this point that the mystery girls became magical girls. Fan sites and research blogs cropped up one after the other online, and aggregate sites uploaded daily with news and about the sightings. One of the largest was particularly thrilling. A gunslinger girl, like somebody straight out of a western, had raided the apartment of a triad gangster in the red light district, beat up the bodyguards, and stolen all the money and guns inside. Hey, doesn't this sound like it actually happened? 3 middle school girls sat waiting at the bus stop, one showing the other two the screen of her smartphone. It was on an aggregate site with the latest Magical Girls reports. You really like that crap, don't you? No way it's real. What? It seems totally real, don't you think? This article's too believable. Like, whoever wrote it was actually there. Yo-chan, you always shut me down. Fine. So, what if it sounds like they're actually there? I shut you down because what you're saying is stupid, Sumi. If whoever posted it was actually involved, one of the gangsters or the mystery girl itself would have to have written the article, and they aren't gonna do that. Plus, aren't you too old for this? Sounds true. How could it possibly be true? It sounds too true. Therefore, it is a lie. Wouldn't it be cool if they did exist, though? The third girl, watching her friend's discussion, could no longer keep quiet. Yo-chan, Sumi, you're both wrong. If magical girls were real, they wouldn't do stuff like that. They care about justice and helping people in need. Thanks for the flowery opinion. Yuki, your world is all like unicorns and rainbows, huh? It's almost delusional. Behind the bus stop where the middle school girls argued over the rumors was a 7-story office building. The seventh Sanko building. Atop its roof, a lone girl was considering the same article. She wore a Japanese kimono, but one showing enough skin to be made a swimsuit. On her feet were extra tall Geita wooden slippers, a shuriken pin in her hair, and all in all, more of a costume than an outfit. Only a magical girl would go out in public with such a getup in N City. Is this for real? She asked, pointing at the article on her magical phone. The heart-shaped screen shut up for a moment. Then a light shone forth to form the holographic image of a spear. Hard and smooth like tile, floating in front of a lake background. Its right half was black, the left white, in an unsettling design. From its body sprouted one wing that fluttered like a butterfly, scattering glittery scales into the air with every beat. Its face was an emoji-like smile, frozen in place and never changing, from which came a high-pitched, childlike voice. This character was Fav, a mascot character. It could be fake, or it could be real. The sphere did a flip and finished with a burst of sparkling scales. Blinded, this girl avoided her eyes. Calamity Mary would do something like this. That silly girl loves to play the outlaw, so she tends to put on crazy stunts. Calamity Mary had laid claim to Ann City's red light district. Magical girls would often call the area under their protection their land, or home, but she more fittingly called it her territory. Her actions warranted unkind descriptors such as vulgar, crude, savage, and more. Even the mascot had belittled her with outlaw. So, it's true? Fab can't possibly tell you that. If Fab spilled the beans every time someone asked what another magical girl was up to, Fab would be a tattletale. And fairies hate tattletales. Then, what about this? She swiped a finger across the screen to a new page. Sightings of the girl in white vastly outnumbered those of the other magical girls combined. She even had her own special section of the site dedicated to her. I think that's too many sightings. Oh, Snow White's page? She works the hardest of all. That's just the tip of the iceberg. She works double, even triple what you see there, for the good of people. The clearly inorganic black and white spear, with its organic-looking wing, did 2 more flips and landed on a flower. Ripple, aren't you looking at that site before? Weren't you looking at that site before? Was I? Is rivalry brewing? No, I'm just surprised she works so hard. Rivalries are good in Fav's opinion. It's a wonderful thing to have everyone competing. The girl, Ripple, looked away from her device. Hello, Sandwich Mexico, welcome in. Get cozy. The girl, Ripple, looked away from her device, brought her dangling legs together, and dived from the edge of the roof she'd been sitting on, landing easily on the ground 60 feet below. Why'd you suddenly jump down? A pesk is coming. I just wanted to get out of the way. A pesk? These magical girls sound like crying. Like crime lords. They do, don't they? Just had a sandwich and you're in Mexico? Oh my god. Yeah. I wonder if there's gonna be like a turf war arc. That'd be pretty cool. Ripple looked away from the valley between the buildings, and Fab followed her line of sight. A point in the sky grew steadily larger until it was unrecognizable as a person. Seeing who it was, Fab called out, "Top speed!" These magical girls know what they're doing. Yeah. Top speed, a witch riding on a broom, descended into the concrete forest and peered at the other girl's face. How you've been, Ripple? Ripple clicked her tongue loudly in response, and Top Speed smiled wanly. Prickly as ever. I should have hidden faster. We're both magical girls, we should get along more. Shut up. Well, anyway. Ripple hissed in frustration again, but Top Speed paid her no mind. She was a stubborn sort, one of the reasons Ripple disliked her. Not very stubborn probably prevented Top Speed from noticing too. Have you seen this article? Top Speed held out her magical phone to show the news sites she'd been browsing. The gist of it was that the costumes of the rumored altruists in End City, aka Magical Girls, resembled one in the popular mobile game Magical Girl Raising Project. A lot of people are connecting the dots. This could be bad, don't you think? It's not a problem at all. Oh yeah? If a magical girl was leaking information, that would be against the rules and a big problem indeed. Ah, Fox Goddess. Hi, welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah. You're right, it is pretty early on for a, Mayushi da yo. Hello. Hi, welcome. Oh, thank you. But yeah. It is pretty early on to make that connection, huh? But I guess if they didn't make the connection early on, at some point I'd probably be thinking, why aren't people realizing that, like, it looks a lot like this really popular mobile game? Because, like, if the mobile game is as popular as it is, people would notice that, right? Yeah. I try to be cute. If a magical girl was leaking inspiration, That would be against the rules and a big problem indeed, but Fav knows none of you are so naughty. News stories about us from regular people are just free advertisement. It's wonderful. This means you gotta be great because you would be crazy not to notice. Yeah, it just means it's gonna be great because you'd be crazy not to notice it, especially if you play the mobile game. Yeah, exactly. Because not everybody who plays the game becomes a magical girl, only a few people do. The little spear had a tendency to talk like a salesman. When Ripple had first transformed, she'd pointed this out. Fab had unabashedly responded, "It's more like HR than sales." About 2 months ago, Kano Sama Sa Sa Sazanami had gained her costume and powers. Can you be a magical girl? I mean, I guess so. But I guess whether you become a magical girl is based on luck, huh? Because only like 1 out of 1,000, every 1,000 players get to be a magical girl, so... She heard the local legend that 1 in tens of thousands of Magical Girl Raising Project players had become real magical girls, but she had never taken it seriously. From kindergarten through middle school, people had insulted her for no reason at all, and she had always handled it by hurting them until they squealed and submitted. But when she started high school, various obstacles made it difficult to solve problems with violence. The 5th would-be stepfather her mother brought home had touched her, a disgrace she had replied to with her fist before she packed her bags and left home. She found an empty apartment to live by herself. As long as she stayed there, she couldn't afford to get fired from her part-time job. Application denied. She fought through the mounting expenses and also made sure to attend high school so that she could have a future. In order to keep herself employed and in school, she needed a hobby to relieve stress when things went sour. She also firmly believed that those who spent money on their hobbies were idiots, which made Magical Girl Raising Project the perfect match. So she added her games to her 2 other hobbies, reading manga in bookstores without buying, and reading at libraries. When one company succeeded in lowering prices on their smartphone, competing companies joined the price war. 3 years ago, smartphones had expanded to 90% of the cell phones market, according to some reports. In the years that followed, the demand continued to rise until they controlled the entire cell phone market. With this increase in smartphones came an upsurge in mobile games designed for them. Most of those followed the model of being free to download but requiring real money to progress smoothly. But Magical Girl Raising Project was completely free to play. Kano had always scoffed at the immature boys at schools talking about their games. But once she tried it herself, she was hooked. She designed her own avatar, the in-game representation of her player, and jumped right into the game. By clearing quests to help people and fight enemies, she could collect cards for magical items and strengthen her characters, and take on even more difficult quests and adversaries. Sticking religiously to successions of 30 minutes a day, she progressed at a snail's pace, but she still enjoyed gathering the cards for her perfect strategies and combos, combining them, winning battles. With this perfect balance of hard work and reward, the game brought her pleasure. And to a newbie like Kano, everything was fresh and original. She didn't care much for magical girls, but she remembered how, back when she still had a TV, she used to smile along with the girls on screen, and realized she had in fact used to love them. Strangely, she found herself reveling in her memories. Multiplayer battles and co-op she found troublesome and irritating, so she opted to play against the AI and career quests in the story mode. Progress was slow but steady. It's evil for Ryzen. Yeah. Progress was slow and steady, and a week after she started the game, something had changed. Fav, the mascot character floating inside the screen, began talking to her. Congratulations, you've been selected to become a true magical girl. Thinking it was some kind of new event, Kano rapidly skipped through the dialogue. Suddenly, the screen shone brightly, and the blinding light enveloped her. Next moment, she had transformed, and had become her game avatar, Ripple. Kano took 3 deep breaths, looked at her hands and feet, then checked her entire body in the mirror. Then repeated the process 4 more times. She wasn't imagining things. She pinched her cheek 4 times. She wasn't imagining things. She pinched her cheek and felt a sharp pain. She wasn't dreaming. Searching for a realistic explanation, she decided she must have been exhausted from school and work. This is going to be a problem, she thought. And the next time she looked in the mirror, she had de-transformed. As a test, she willed herself to change again, and she transformed in the light. The same happened when she willed the costume away. She repeated both processes over and over, until she saw Ripple in the mirror. Her face, body, everything about her was up. Smoke Supra, thanks for becoming a pack rabbit implement. Her face, body, everything was different from Kano, especially the salacious outfit she would never be caught dead wearing. The transformation was so real and vivid that she couldn't possibly consider it a dream or a hallucination. She flexed her right hand repeatedly, then dove her fist into her left hand. The sound wave and impact caused the windows to shatter, and the ceiling's lights pull cord to swing. Her fingers were like beautiful works of art, finer, longer, and more graceful than Kano's, yet held great strength within. She kicked at the door lightly and almost hit her head on the ceiling. If she had cracked it, the landlord would yell at her again. Her physical power had increased by leaps and bounds, clearly no longer a normal human's. Next, she examined her limbs and couldn't find any scars, bruises, or hairs, not even a mole or a dry patch of skin. Again. So she has broken things before and the landlord had yelled at her. Her skin was smooth and soft and firm as ripe fruit. Inside her body, energy coursed through her like never before. Outside, throwing knives and shuriken were sewn into her collars and sleeves. One unlucky slip and she could really hurt herself. The rumors were true. The Magical Girl Raising Project game created magical girls. She regarded the beautiful, perfect face in the mirror one more time. What was she, a model or an actress or something? Even her voice was different, higher and clearer than normal. She struck a few poses in the mirror, and smiled slightly, blew a kiss. Everything she tried just looked right. Yet it was still a bit off from the idea of a true magical heroine. At the very least, it didn't feel unorthodox. Something on your mind? The mascot asked her from her phone screen. Hannah almost jumped, but somehow managed to keep her shock from showing. She couldn't do anything about the blush on her cheeks after getting caught striking poses on smiling in the mirror, though. "Who are you?" she asked, as calmly as possible. "Fab is Fab. If you played the game, you should know who Fab is." "That's not what I mean. What's your goal?" Fab provides support to magical girls who show potential. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. He didn't seem to be listening. Ripple clicked her tongue and returned to the mirror. Staring back at her was, no matter how much you looked at it, a magical girl. That fact was unmistakable. People described them as too beautiful to be human. Is this really... The ones you help will remember a little differently. An average face will suddenly become too beautiful for this world. Is this unacceptable? Kano's avatar Ripple was based on a ninja. Black hair, almond eyes, and thin eyebrows. She had chosen her accessories in an attempt to complement the half kimono, half swimsuit costume. Yet seeing herself in it now, she looked rather plain for a magical girl. She sported a red scarf, the ninja cleavske, and a giant shuriken haircut that glinted silver. All else was coordinated black, from head to toe. The name Ripple she had come at by translating her Nath's name, Sasanami, into English. But in real life, the Japanese outfit and Western name simply clashed. Plain? Yeah. Is it possible to change your avatar's outfit? Not at this stage. Oh, I see. What's the matter? Something bothering you? No. Vav continued his explanation. Now that she had been chosen, she was expected to help people in need. Kano had no interest in helping others, but she couldn't resist the allure of the beauty, the superhuman strength, and the unrestricted use of magic. More than anything, she was bored with her life. Vav will be sure to give you all the support you need. For starters, take this magical phone. What kind of support? Vav is friends with every magical girl, so if you ever want to communicate, Vav can connect you. Vav can also answer any of your questions. I don't think I trust Vav. I think Vav is kinda... I don't trust him. What is a magical girl anyway? A magical girl is a magical girl. Don't you watch TV? But what exactly does that mean? The magical kingdom has granted you powers in order to help people. For what reason? What is the magical kingdom's goal? Is this story like Madoka? Certainly it feels like it's definitely inspired by it, huh? Welcome back, Shinny. For what reason? I wasn't asking for a Budkai kiss, but you'll take it. Yeah. For what reason? What's the magical kingdom's goal? Don't you watch TV? Like I said, you're a magical girl now, and that's final. It's an irreversible truth. No matter what you ask, no matter what the answer is, you are Ripple. What? It was all incredibly fishy, but she couldn't deny the extraordinary phenomenon she was now a part of. With enough effort, Kano could get into a good university, but effort alone wouldn't make her into a magical girl. You're magical and that's final. It's magic, I'm not explaining anything. Let me see. I'm just marking where... Yeah, sorry. I'm just marking where the chapter ends. Has it been an hour already? It doesn't feel like it. It was all incredibly fit, but effort alone wouldn't turn her into a magical girl. For that, she needed a fair amount of luck and latent talent. Yet if she let this chance pass her by, she'd most likely never get another one. So after weighing her options, she made the calculated decision to accept. You're lost in the story? Awesome. I'm pretty invested too. Anna reflected on her objective pro and con calculations. As a self-professed realist, she was impressed at how calmly and collectedly she had accepted such an unusual situation. Fab spoke up, possibly sensing her thoughts. If you cannot accept that magical girls exist, you wouldn't have been chosen as one in the first place. Oh, you mean like lost? Okay. Don't worry. She wasn't allowed free rein right off the bat, though. When Fab informed her that she would need lessons from a more experienced mentor, Kano became moody. Just imagining it rubbed her the wrong way. Fab, you said you would be my support. Fab would love to help as much as possible, but there is only one of Fab. Fab can't do everything. Kano remembered the game's forced tutorials and how slow and frustrating they were. Simple button clicking over and over, clearly made for idiots with no imagination. She shot off her new magical phone and clicked her tongue angrily. She could barely stand to look at the heart-shaped screen. Talking to others had never been Kano's strong suit. To be honest, others in general had never been her strong suit. She had a deep dislike for people who herded together and thought they were tougher for it. This is one of the reasons she started playing Magical Girl Raising Project in the first place. So the looming prospect of obnoxious human relationships upset her. Her first expression of top speed, her one mentor, was that she seemed like an idiot. She wore a triangular witch's hat and a witchy dress, and carried a magic broom. She was your generic spellcaster, and even her face appeared more Western than Ripple's. Her big blue eyes, a classic magical girl trait, darted about busily as she tossed her flaxen braids. Only her long purple cape and the charm hanging from her neck broke the witch archetype in any way. The back of the cape, Rachel noticed, was embroidered with the words, "No gratuitous opinions." She's an idiot, Anna thought to herself, and her appraisal dropped even more. They'd agreed to meet on the roof of the 7th Sanko building, and as Top Speed landed, she gave a big smile and jabbed her right hands out in a thumbs up. "Nice to meet ya. I'm Top Speed. Good to have you on board." "Nice to meet you." "Where's your energy, man? You eating right?" She spoke like a guy and cackled like a fool. Ripple's assessment slipped down another level. With a flourish, Top Speed spun and parked herself on a guardrail and beckoned Ripple to sit beside her. Not wanting to sit next to her, yet also not wanting to stand under her gaze, the ninja chose the simplest option and leaned against the wall. Top Speed then proceeded to explain all that being all that being a magical girl entailed. In essence, they used magic to help normal people, and doing good deed earned them magical candies. Good deeds. In the game, you defeat enemies and stuff, but in the real world, there aren't much in the ways of enemies to defeat, you know? I know it's not glamorous, but honest work like this is best. Top Speed spoke with an air of experience, but Riffle just scoffed silently. Top Speed also taught her the functions of the magical phone that only they could use. Although it was nearly identical to a regular smartphone, the way Top Speed talked it up only added to Ripple's exasperation. She did not show this, of course, but silently scoffed again. Following instructions, Riffle used the device to bring up a page with her personal data. Height, weight, and measurements. It was all there. As Kano, she was an inch taller than the average boy and solidly built, but when she transformed into ripples, everything about her became more feminine. Under personality was written violent and unsociable. And the fact that she agreed with this just irritated her more. Under magic was written throws shuriken and always hits her target. At this time she audibly clicked her tongue. What's up? I only have one type of magic. It was so plain. Throwing a shuriken was more of a ninja technique than a power. She could think of so many other ninja-like things to do, like creating clone illusions or breathing fireballs. Magical girls only get one kind of magic, see? It was easier in the game when you could use a lot of magic, but that's the breaks. It wasn't the only depressing piece of information Top Speed had to share, though. Naruto reference, yeah? There are also 2 rules that all magical girls had to follow. 1. Never reveal yourself to a regular human, and never talk about the rules or your powers to a regular human. So, we don't talk about Fight Club. First rule of Magical Girl Raising Project, we don't talk about Magical Girl Raising Project. Those who broke those rules had their right to be magical girls rescinded. Once a week, they had an online meeting. While attendance was not mandatory, it was a good idea to attend as to not to miss some major announcement. First rule, don't talk about magical girl stuff. Yeah. Certain members of their ranks were very territorial. The 2 places to avoid in the city were Calamity Mary's Ch.1 district and Ruler's Nishimosen. The former loved to pick fights, and the latter was just aggravating to listen to. Both were an equal pain in the butt. Outspeed regaled Ripple with stories. For instance, Sister Nano had once stumbled into Calamity Mary's territory and was nearly killed for it. Unreal, girls like to gossip. Depends. It's just, you can't talk about it with people who are not magical girls, though. So talking to other magical girls is fair game. But you're not allowed to talk about the cool stuff with the normies. You're a normie. You're not allowed to know about the cool magical girl stuff. Lame, not magical person. Just a guy, just a girl. Bleh. There's also the time a video of the Peaky Angels made its way to the internet and caused a stir. The more she talked, the more Ripple checked out. When her mentor had finally finished, hopped onto her broom and disappeared into the night sky, Ripple clicked her tongue. Hey. Yes? Who made her a mentor? Friendly magical girls volunteer for the job. Top Speed's explanation might have taken 3 times longer than normal, but it just shows how thorough she was being. So not only has she been a victim of an overzealous busybody, but she had suffered through a longer than necessary introduction. Ripple clicked her tongue louder than she had in years. To her, Top Speed had gone from idiot mentor to idiot trying to act like a mentor. For some reason, Top Speed kept coming back to visit Ripple. Not even subtle sounds of dismay or saying to her face, "You don't have to come back," would stop her. She simply waved it away with a, "You're such a prickly pear." Realizing words wouldn't reach her, Ripple decided to ignore Top Speed. In the end, the witch would talk without interruption until she had her fill, then leave for the day. One time, she brought a plastic container of boiled sweet potatoes, which Ripple begrudgingly tried and found delicious. scene break. In summer, Kyubei-hama seemed particularly teemed with tourists, but by fall it was a ghost town. Had her fill. Fill, not feel. Fill. When the sun set, not a soul could be found wandering the streets. A very tall steel tower stood on a hill, overlooking the beach, and on this tower sat two girls in costume. One of them wore a white school uniform-esque outfit, and the other looked at first glance like a knight from the Middle Ages, but with a long tail. The two of them huddled close around a magical phone and spoke with the mascot character Fave. Magical girls preferred constructs like office buildings and steel towers. These tall, deserted areas were good resting spots for their outrageous outfits could go unnoticed. Few of them could fly truly, but they all had the ability to run on top of building walls, as if they were flat ground. Be extra sure to come to the next chat meeting. Why? There's going to be an important announcement. I heard a new girl was joining, is that it? That and a big event as a result. What kind of event? You'll have to show up and find out. Snow White turned off her phone and rotated a little to the side. She drew her knees close to Lapucille's, making it easier to converse. Did you hear that? She chirped. I did. In contrast to Snow White's ill-feeling nonchalance, Lapucille's response had a tinge of melancholy to it. What did you think? Chat attendance has been pretty low lately, so maybe Fab is doing things to get people to show up. It's low? Yeah, yesterday only 7 people showed up. You, me, Nemerin, Cranberry, Todspeed, Sister Nana, and Winter Present. But that's higher than before. It's still low. Can you recall even one time where everybody showed up? Attendance at the once-a-week meeting was recommended, but not mandatory, which was causing a drop in the attendees, a situation Fab was trying to remedy. He constantly insisted that everyone should exchange information more, and that they should be friendlier towards one another. Hardly anyone listened. Snow White and Lapucille both had a high attendance rate. They were huge fans of magical girls, and jumped on every chance to associate with others like them. Thanks to the chat meetings, they had developed many friendships, so to them at least, the meetings had not been for nothing. The chat room is so tiny, I think it would be hard to squeeze lots of people in. The weekly chat took place in an imaginary meeting room, with each girl entering as a simplified version of her avatar. It's like we'll be literally squeezed, so it's not like we'll literally be squeezed, so what's the problem? Still, so, also, Lapucille dropped her pointer finger at Snow White, who had stared blankly back. Don't call me so when I'm transformed. Oh, sorry, Snow White started to apologize, but made the same mistake again, so she laughed to try and cover it up. Her infectious laugh caused Lapucille's finger still extended to start giggling as well. Koyuki Himekawa had always adored magical girls. As a child, watching the adorable Hiyoko from the Hiyoko series had been an emotional roller coaster. From there, she moved on to Star Queen series and the Cutie Healer series. Watching these brave girls fight against evil enthralled her. Her childhood friend and fellow magical girl fan would also borrow old series from a cousin for them to watch, and introduced her or to girls like Mary, Rikapel, and Miko. They used their powers to bring happiness and never faltered. Tail where? Well, where else would a tail be? No matter what the danger, Koyuki even declared that when she grew up, she'd become a magical girl just like them, which made her friend jealous since she could only hope to become a sorcerer. As the years went on, more and more of her classmates began to consider magical girls childish. But even in high school, Koyuki stubbornly stuck to her beliefs. To her, they weren't just fiction. They had become an irreplaceable part of her being. But she knew people would only mock her, wish to become one, and help people if she ever voiced it, so she kept it to herself. But she just couldn't bring herself to abandon her dream. It was in middle school that Koyuki first came across Magical Girl Raising Project. It was inevitable that a girl who had wished all her life to become a magical girl, a do-gooder, would learn of a game rumored to grant that wish. Still, she didn't start the game convinced it would really happen. Her reasoning was something like, it's just a rumor that people actually transform, right? Yeah, they're just rumors. But it's okay to wish that they're true, right? I still like magical girl-themed games anyway. Besides, it's free. 28 days after starting the game, Koyuki Himekawa became Snow White. When she looked in the mirror, she could see a figure she'd dreamed of since she was a child. She hadn't just dreamed, but had drawn it out on paper. She based the outfit on the school uniform from the most popular manga at the time, and the name Snow White indicated, made her outfit entirely white and decorated it with white flowers. While Koyuki had rarely been called lovely, let alone beautiful, the girl in the mirror was truly beautiful. Her skin was a translucent white, her eyelashes were long. Snow White was an entirely different person from Koyuki, and it didn't seem odd that they were one and the same. That's because they're not Disney. You know, I think it's very interesting that when they become a magical girl, it's not just a costume change, you know? It's like their actual physical appearance changes. So, like, nobody who knows them in their day-to-day life is going to, like, look at them and assume that they're, like, the same person because they look and sound completely different. Because magical girls need to be hot? Well, of course they do. Well, not just that, it's more so, like, it's a total change, it's a good disguise, yes. Because, you know, you watch Sailor Moon, and I love Sailor Moon, but it's always kind of like, how does nobody know that this is Usagi? She literally looks the exact same, she's just wearing a different outfit. Is it Superman effect? Yeah. It's because Sailor Moon has like the space buns in her hair. So they're gonna be like, oh. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, Usagi! Sailor Moon was just hair. You just missed her! You just missed her! Where's she? Well, at the very least, at least Clark Kent wears glasses. So I guess you can kind of like argue that like, oh, because they're wearing glasses, it's a completely different person. Glasses kind of really do kind of change the way like a person's face looks. Like you can be like, when someone takes off their glasses and they wear glasses a lot, they really do look pretty different. I've never seen Clark Kent and Superman in the same room. Well, Clark Kent is just a guy and Superman is Superman. Why would they be in the same room? She didn't think she was dreaming either. The experience was surreal for sure, but also overwhelmingly authentic. The effect is amplified if they're blind as F. The eyes look so different, yeah. hmm I do have a point, yeah, I do. Why would Clark Kent, the guy, be in the same room as Superman? When she looked in the mirror, she could see a figure she dreamed of since she. Oh, wait, I already read all that. She didn't think she was dreaming either. The experience was surreal for sure, but also overwhelmingly authentic. She jumped and squealed with joy, smacking her head on the ceiling and then falling on her butt. Her mother, surprised by the noise, came to her room to investigate. Fortunately, Koyuki managed to change back in the nick of time. Her mother and convinced her mother that she had simply tripped. As a normal human once more, she started to think that maybe it had all been a dream. But she transformed again. And there stood the magical girl Snow White. Yes, yes, yes! Congratulations! Yes, yes, thank you, Fab. I'm so excited to start. She spent the rest of her day smiling so widely, her mother began to worry that she'd hit her head. That night she snuck out to school, careful not to get caught by her parents. Late that night, in the empty schoolyard, she hopped, leaped, kicked, punched, flipped, and somersaulted, slowly unleashing more and more of the power welling within her, discovering new moves that she could have never done before. She had finally become the heroine from her imagination. Oh, Mr. Wolfer. Welcome. Welcome in. Also, Sweet Dreams Radio. Discovering new moves she could have never had before. She had finally become the heroine from her imagination. When the realization finally hit her, joy and excitement overwhelmed her without giving her a moment to breathe. Thank you as always. Good night. Good night, Radio. Sleep well. She did a somersault again, and her skirt flipped up. Perhaps she should have made it a little longer. Compared to her school uniform, it was extremely short. She made a mental note to keep her actions more restrained in front of others. Yeah, good night, Radio. Sleep well. Oh, can I use any magic? You should check the personal data on your magical phone for that. She turned on her new gadget and consulted the page listing various details on Snow White. Hey Fab. Yes? Under personality it says clumsy and strong sense of justice, which is fine, but what's this tendency to daydream? Humans find it difficult to view themselves objectively, Pawn. Really? Under magic was written, can hear the thoughts of those in need. A perfect ability for Koyuki's ideal, the champion of the people. She was so grateful to the ones who made this possible. Thank you, Magical Kingdom. Thank you for giving me this wonderful power. So I'm guessing that Snow White was the person who helped the girl at the beginning of the story who lost her key. I'm guessing it was her who was able to help that girl at the very beginning. That day marked Snow White's debut. Every night she'd sneak out her window and look for people to help. A middle schooler who lost her house key. Ah, there it is. A university student who had their car stolen. A businessman under pressure for money, to name a few. There are so many troubles that she couldn't do anything about, like concealing adultery, a boy unsure whether or not to confess to the girl he had a crush on, or a retiree desperate for pension. Hearing the thoughts of those in need was the only special ability she possessed. So the only way she could help was to roll up her sleeves and join the fray with her magically enhanced arms, legs, and ears. Arms, legs, eyes, and ears. However, the problems that would be solved this way were endless. And so work was never in short supply. Only 2 days after her first transformation, she was earning magical candies left and right, and the candy warehouse in her phone was filled with bottles. And she hadn't even met her mentor yet. 0 other qualities. It seems that every magical girl only gets one power. At her first chat session, the girls welcomed her with open arms. There was top speed, her avatar was dressed like a witch, Sister Nana, clad like a nun, Whis Winter Prison, dressed in a long scarf, Nimmerin wearing pajamas, Musician of the Forest, Cranberry draped in flowers, and Lapusil in knight's armor. Top Speed shared her experiences, cracking jokes the whole time, while every now and then, Sister Nana would interject with her own. Nimmerin hardly spoke, saying that she preferred to listen to what others had to say. The silent winter prison simply stood at Sister Nana's side as Cranberry played music from her chair in the corner. Just as the meeting was about to adjourn, Lapusil approached Snow White, and as it turned out, she was in charge of the area just next to Snow White and had volunteered to be her mentor. They agreed to meet at midnight each day at the tallest steel tower by Kubahama Beach. Koyuki had never met another magical girl in real life before, and the excitement had caused her to space out even more during class. She received 3 warnings for her teacher that day. Even her friends were worried something was wrong. Becoming a magical girl hadn't changed Koyuki's passion for them in the slightest, and now she was going to meet and talk to one face to face. And not as a fan and celebrity, but as fellow heroes. It was impossible to calm her racing heart. That night, she made sure not to be late by arriving 15 minutes early, and then climbed the steel tower she found. But when she climbed the steel tower, she found Lapusa already there. Magical girls possess great night vision, so even in that moonless night, she could see as clear as day, and the lone knight was standing on top of the tower. Her armor consisted of wrist guards and a breast guard, and shin guards, the giant sword more than a foot wide, and a yard long slung across her back. An image of a fiercely roaring dragon decorated the sheath. Horn-like hair decorations and a tail accessories extending from her waist completed the dragon imagery. Her magical girliness, her femininity, however, was still quite apparent even under all that armor. Where some might cover up, she left her cleavage and thighs clearly visible. Her hair was done up just so, barely touching her shoulders, with a few strands dangling from each side of her head. Lapusil heard Snow White arrive, and shifted her gaze from the ocean to Snow White. Her expression was regal, but she also seemed uncomfortable. Snow White panicked, thinking she had showed up late. It's nice to meet you. Well, we've talked before. via chat, so it's nice to meet you in person. Is that okay? Anyway, nice to meet you. It wasn't a very good greeting. In fact, it was fair to call it terrible. And Snow White, head bowed deeply, knew that more than anyone. She glanced at La Pucelle, arms crossed. The other girl gave 3 deep nods. I knew it, she said with a husky voice. Koyuki? Question marks flickered in Snow White's mind at hearing her name from this person she had never met. How do you know my real name? I knew it was you. It's me, Sota. Huh? Sota Kishibe. We went to the same school 2 years ago. Don't tell me you've forgotten me. What? The reason Sota Kishibe had realized Snow White's true identity was simple. She had closely resembled the drawing of a magical girl Koyuki had labeled her grown-up self. Sota, her childhood friend, had seen her draw it, even memorized it. The first time he saw Snow White's avatar, he had suspected it might be her. Meeting her in person just confirmed it. Oh wait, so he's actually a boy? Oh, he's a boy, but when you become a magical girl, you have to be a girl. So I think that's what's happening. Yes, you can be a magical girl, Radio. You can. The reason Koyuki Himekawa hadn't realized La Pucelle's real identity was equally simple. She never could have imagined that tan, energetic, soccer-loving boy was a regal female knight. Even knowing the transformation could change one's body, age, and physical prowess, she never would have guessed it would also change one's gender. The two of them sat next to each other under the steel tower and chatted until the sun was nearly risen, rekindling their old friendship. This doesn't cause weird dreams. Yeah? So, was it Magical Girl Raising Project for you too, Koyuki? Yeah, one day Fab just started talking to me. I thought it was some sort of event, and the next thing I knew I was a magical girl. How long have you had powers, so? About a month, I think. Man, I'm so surprised you ended up one. Hey, I've always loved them. I'm more surprised than you. Yeah, that type of changing might cause PTSD. I mean, he seems to be into it. I guess he doesn't mind. I've always loved them too, you know. I just couldn't tell anyone, Sota said. There was a world of difference between boys and girls liking this sort of thing. In middle school, a girl would be considered odd, while a boy would be considered a pervert. He had to walk a town over to get his fix at the DVD rental shop where no one knew him, and conceal his manga and light novels inside his school desk, hiding like a Christian in the Edo period. Jose Angel, thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. Welcome. So I thought you forgot all about magical girls and went for soccer instead. They had been forced to go to different middle schools because they lived in different districts, but Koyuki had seen Shota running during early morning practice many times. Your voice is so beautiful, and I like it, so I felt compelled to start following you. Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Soccer is fun, but it can't scratch the same itch. Thanks. That means a lot, thank you. I wonder if there are any other magical boys. According to Fav, I'm the only one in the area, and even globally it's pretty rare. Are you really a girl now? When I transform, I'm completely female. Yeah, no doubt about that. For some reason, Lapucel's cheeks reddened slightly in embarrassment. They made two rules: to work together and to always stay in character, even when they were alone. And so the Snow White Lapucel duo was formed. Voices from those in trouble reached Snow White's ears no matter how big or small the problem. Using her magic, she roamed the city searching for people to help. Lapucel became her partner, but her magic was not as peaceful as Snow White's. It was much more violent. Lapucel appointed herself the role of bodyguard, insisting she would protect Snow White if something ever happened. Not that anything could threaten a magical girl. I don't know about that. Ch.1. The goal of Magical Girl's Raising Project's chat function was to allow the players to communicate through their avatars. Thus, the weekly chats also made use of this function. The chat room, modeled after a conference room, opened its doors, and one after the other, the little characters made their way inside. Cranberry has entered the Magical Kingdom. Magicaloid 44 has entered the Magical Kingdom. Swim has entered the Magical Kingdom. Top Speed has entered the Magical Kingdom. Magicaloid, greetings. Sup. Snow White has entered the Magical Kingdom. Emma has entered the Magical Kingdom. Nemerin has entered the Magical Kingdom. Good evening, nice to meet you all. Yo. Ah, look who's Top Speed has entered the Magical Kingdom. Wow, look who's finally decided to show. Lapucel has entered the Magical Kingdom. Nemerin, hi. Greetings, rare character. Ruler has entered the Magical Kingdom. Good evening, ladies. Calamity Mary has entered the Magical Kingdom. Good evening. Yes, hi, hello. Knife Head, thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. Welcome in. Hey. The chat room was crammed with avatars. Musician of the Forest, Cranberry, flipped back onto the bed she'd been sitting on, magical phone in hand, and rolled over. How cozy. I'm glad you think it's cozy. I do my best. And flipped onto her old sheets on her stomach. Her hair, fixed with a flower-shaped clip, flipped softly and brushed up against her wrist. If the top of a tall building was a perfect resting spot for magical girls, then an abandoned cabin in the middle of the mountains was the perfect residence for them. I haven't entered the yeah? We're all in the Magical Kingdom now. Was the perfect residence for them. Someone like Cranberry, who had no life in the human world, needed only solitude and a roof over her head. The resort hotel near the peak of Mount Takanami, abandoned halfway through construction, had fit her needs for over half a year. No one knew she was there. Thanks to Fab's insistence that there be an important announcement, no one had attempted to skip on that week's chat. Some, like Ripple, were clearly there against their will, and remained sullenly silent, without even an attempt at a greeting. But still, every magical girl active in End City was accounted for. This had never been done once since the weekly chats had begun, and the small room was packed like a can of sardines. Hey, aren't we getting a new girl? Oh, that's next week, although this conversation does involve her. In total, there were 15 magical girls active in End City, which meant adding a new one the following week would bring the total to 16. That was too much, even for a metropolis like End City. The mana that required their magic depended on the land, and was, consequentially, a limited resource. The addition of another would drain mana from the land even faster and deplete it in no time. After summing up the current situation, Fab eagerly made his big announcement. So we'll be cutting down on the number of magical girls. Half. 8 is our goal. The room was silent. The girls processed that Fab... The room was silent as the girls processed what Fab had just said. A moment later, a storm of criticism, a tide of complaints, and an endless stream of questions and concerns followed. The size of a rock is... The size of a rock is most understandable from the splash it makes. Speech bubbles from the avatars covered the screens, filling everything from all caps to colored text. It became nearly impossible to see anything in the already tiny chat room. Fab bowed and apologized over and over. He even seemed to be shedding fewer scales than normal. Exactly what method would they use to cut down the numbers? This magical girl chat is held once every week, so once a week we will announce who has been cut here. For 8 weeks until 8 of you have been let go. The one with the fewest candies will be the one to go. Cranberry was well aware that nobody was about to say, "Who do you think you are?" pretending like nothing's wrong. When we're like this, thanks to your incompetence, if that's how it is, I'll quit. They all had joyously accepted their new status as magical girls. Tasting such great power, then losing it would upset anyone. The higher they rose, the harder they fell, and the deeper they despaired. To repeat, once a week, the girl with the fewest magical candies will be cut. So please work your hardest to gather lots of candies. Fab is very, very sorry for the inconvenience. Oh, and there's been an update to your phones, so please be sure to check that out. That's all. See you here in 1 week. Cranberry logged out of the chat, turned off her device, and threw it at her pillow. In the week after the chat, magical girl sightings spread like wildfire. The internet was blowing up. Oh, I see. So, the reason why there's been more magical girl sightings is because all of them are clamoring, trying to help people so they can get the most magical candy so they don't lose their powers. Which begs the question, what were they doing prior to this? Yeah, which begs the question, what were they doing before this? Were they just like fucking around? As they said that Snow White, I guess they just kind of thought like, well, this is my power. I want it. I want to use it for myself. And we're just doing just that, just using it for themselves. In the week after the chat, magical girl sightings spread like wildfire. The internet was blowing up. A princess chased away a scary dog. Thanks for the head pat. Twin angels flew through the sky to recover a lost balloon. A girl in a white school uniform helped push a car out of a ditch. The further they spread their activities, the more chances there were for them to be seen. They were desperate to gather as much magical candy as possible to increase their chances of ending up in the final 8, which drove up reckless exposure, traffic for news sites, and public awareness. What you looking at, Ripple? Ripple, sitting on the roof of an office building, heard a voice from above. He continued to stare at her magical phone, neither answering nor turning towards the sound. Oh, is that the news? Everyone's working so hard now, huh? Godspeed alighted next to her, and Ripple finally turned her head. Snow White's really working her butt off. Jeez, save some for the rest of us, right? Sightings of the white magical girl were leaps and bounds ahead of sightings of others. She wasn't even doing anything spectacular. Her assistance came in small everyday actions like picking up dropped change, ferrying forgotten lunches, and reminding people to zip up their flies. Was helping with mundane difficulties a magical girl's true purpose? Or was she simply not capable of undertaking greater issues? According to the internet, at least it appeared to be the former. Snow White was the pure and righteous heroine little girls dreamed of becoming, the exact opposite of Ripple, who brushed up praise for her work by saying she was simply in it for the candy. It wasn't that Ripple didn't want to serve the community, but she was too embarrassed to say otherwise. However, maybe boldly declaring, "I want to help others," and actually doing so was the correct way to be a magical girl, she mused. Ripple, you're really focused on Snow White, aren't you? Is she your rival? Ripple clicked her tongue sharply. The voice felt like cold water jolting her out of her reverie. I thought you considered Calamity Mary your rival. After a disapproving click, and who exactly was responsible for that mess in the first place? A few days after Ripple had first transformed, Calamity Mary had come knocking on the roof of the 7th Senko building, Ripple's and Topspeed's de facto meeting point. Light as a butterfly, she had leaped to them from a neighboring building. Wishing in a good story. That's the life. Yeah. As she landed on the roof, Nipple noticed she was exactly as the rumor stated, like a cowgirl. Not really magical girl-esque. She thought though she didn't have any room to judge. Calamity Mary's business with them was quite simple. You, little girl, Ripple is it? She appeared to be in her 2nd or 3rd year of high school, and she was much more well endowed than either Ripple or Topspeed. Her breast and butt were huge. Ripple looked like she was in middle school, which made the little girl comment somewhat understandable, she reasoned. So, while it did irk her a bit, she kept her cool and gave a small nod. Calamity Mary flickered her cowboy hat. I told you, Fab, that I'd be mentoring the new newbie. So, Calamity Mary is thick. Confirmed. She's thick with 2 C's. You see, Fab's made a promise. You see, I made Fab promise me a long time ago that if a new girl was assigned to a neighborhood near me, I'd get to mentor her. Good neighbors and all that, right? Ripple had been assigned to Nakayado, the center of an area once famous as a castle town, while Topspeed area was the north section of Kitayado. Naturally, they were next to each other. It was a really long time ago, so that must be why Fab came to me first. I had no idea you had an agreement, so I'm sorry. Oh, Calamity Mary continued to stare at Ripple, sparing no concern for Topspeed groveling at her with her hat in her hands. Ripple glared back. The uncivilized staring was upsetting enough without Topspeed no-toeing to someone who was ignoring her entirely. In a flash, Calamity Mary's gun left its holster and fired at Ripple, who whipped out the sword from the sheath on her back and deflected the incoming bullet. Not a tenth of a second had passed before it was over. Flustered, Top Speed raised her head. What are you two doing? Isn't it obvious, huh, little lady? Ripple glared hard at the pistol in Calamity Mary's right hand. Red smoke arose from the long black barrel. It was clearly no ordinary gun. Magic, maybe? Her sword-wielding hand was still numb. Top Speed inserted herself between the two and spread her hands to both sides. Please, sis. Please, sis, please. Newbies always need to be taught respect. I'll scold her later, so please put down that gun, I'm begging you. She shouted in Mary's direction, then whispered to Ripple, "When you put that away, someone could get hurt." Calamity Mary spun her pistol before dropping it to its holster, and Ripple returned her sword to her back. Top Speed gave a sigh of relief. DoorDash you appear. Bruh. What was I doing? Peace, girls, peace. We're all magical girls, right? Bruh. Comrades? Ripple didn't know what Calamity Mary was thinking, but she doubted she holstered her gun because they were comrades, like Top Speed had suggested. She didn't consider Mary a comrade, and most likely the feeling was mutual. Well, alright, I'll yell at Fave later. And with that, Calamity Mary grabbed onto the guardrail and slipped over it with ease. At that moment, Ripple's heart pounded again. In the other girl's hand was a pistol aimed at her. She totally missed the draw. Multiple shots rang out. One bullet flew toward Top Speed, while two flew towards her. Ripple grabbed her mentor by the collar and forced her down, simultaneously drawing her sword again, deflecting the bullets from her crotch. She came back up ready to retaliate with the throwing knives and hidden in her sheath, but Calamity Mary was already gone. You two, I swear. Top Speed stood herself up, rubbing her nose and forehead like she'd hit them. So, why are you so quick to pull the trigger? Have some damn restraint, have you heard of it? If someone picks a fight, you have to retaliate. Well, learn to pick your battles. If you go starting shit every time she gets on your nerves, you won't live long. Ripple clicked her tongue. She was rattled and upset. First with Top Speed with doing nothing the entire time. Second with Calamity Mary and her bizarre willingness to fire at others without hesitation. And third with herself for her terror at facing a gun, despite her tough act. She couldn't stand, her heart raced, and her sweat flowed like rivers, but somehow she barely managed not to cry. Her right hand tingled from the impact of deflecting the bullets. When she'd become a magical girl and realized how strong she'd become, she had been sure she couldn't be killed. Turns out she'd been wrong. Normal humans couldn't kill her. Most likely not even a disease or traffic accident would. But no matter how sturdy and resilient she was, another one like her could injure her. All of this made her angry. You're a sword with no sheath like I used to be. Things could get bad if I left you alone. You could get up to some serious danger. Top Speed said, exasperated. That know-it-all look. Those crossed arms, the lecturing.
Yes, hi.
Ripple angrily clicked her tongue again. Indisho, thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. Welcome in. Every evening at 5 o'clock, students packed into the hamburger shop in front of the train station and filled it with 1,000 different conversations. The air bubbled with excitement and laughter, but the everyday chaos always stayed under control. The employees and customers were all used to it. Amid the hustle and bustle, 3 middle school girls occupying the window seats near the door carried on their conversation like normal. One of them gestured at her smartphone and talked excitedly. The sightings are pouring in like crazy. See, magical girls just have to exist. Sumi, are you still going on about this? Not even you can deny that there are so many witness reports. Yo-chan, they totally exist. They so totally exist. Of course I'll deny it. There's no freaking way. Hey Yo-chan, why don't you believe in them? You tell her, Koyuki. You speak for all the daydreamers out there. I don't know how to explain it. It's just plain embarrassing. Why is it embarrassing? Well, Koyuki, why are you so curious? I just am. Like in anime and stuff, when a girl transforms, there's a second where she's completely naked, right? Is it like, are you an exhibitionist or something? That doesn't happen. The media's lying to you. Calm down now. We're only talking about cartoons here, right? Why are you two talking about anime anyway? This stuff is happening in real life. There are eyewitnesses and everything. There's no way people can grow wings and fly or get hit by a dump truck and just walk it off. Come on, Yo-chan, dream a little. If something may or may not be real, it's more fun to think that it is real. Sumi, you need to come back to Earth. Reality is important. I'm not delusional, okay? I just think it'd be cool if they existed. Even if I know how reality works. Yo-chan, you're missing out with that attitude. The internet's going nuts. There's info on magical girls everywhere. My favorite's this one, the one in white. She seems real, down to earth. I'd be relieved if she came to my rescue. She's like chicken soup for the soul. Koyuki, why are you grinning? I'm not grinning at all. Could she be grinning because she is Snow White? A week later, only 7 days, and yet the anticipation had them feel so long to Cranberry. A glance at any Agrit site revealed just how hard the other girls had been working. None of them wanted to be cut. Cranberry navigated to the site, to the chat on her magical phone, and logged in. Attendance was unusually high, similar to last time. Right away, Nimmerin was unceremoniously named as among them with the least magical candy. She didn't seem particularly tortured or regretful about the results, just a little embarrassed. Azure0, thanks for becoming a pack rabbit, welcome in. While the vast majority of the girls wanted to wield the great power they'd been given, she'd prefer to listen to their tales of adventure. Cranberry couldn't recall a week where Nimmerin hadn't been there, and she was always easy to talk to. But through her perfect attentions, her relationship with others ran deep. Unlike Cranberry, simply there to be there, she had never missed an opportunity to chat or listen. Everyone knew her. Snow White, Top Speed, Sister Nana were the most torn up about having to say goodbye. I'll be watching you guys on the internet. I'll always be cheering for you. Switchfap responded, well, goodbye. And the pajama-wearing avatar was gone. When the top earner was also announced, which had ended up being Snow White by a landslide, everyone tried to emulate Snow White, Lab said, ending the chat. One by one the girls left, until it was just Fab and Cranberry. She had a question she wanted answered. I have one question if you don't mind. What is it? What exactly happens when one loses the right to be a magical girl? The girls who have been cut die. Do you mean that figuratively? As in they die as magical girls? It's a biological death. A franker answer there wasn't. Yeah, I knew it too. Cranberry locked out without responding and tossed her magical phone at her pillow, just as she had a week ago. Chat logs were available to those who were not present, which meant soon all the magical girls would learn what she and Fab had discussed. This would fundamentally change the implications of getting the axe, not to mention the meaning of the game they were playing. Cranberry crossed her hands behind her head, rolled onto bed, and stared up at the ceiling. Oh no. Alright. Yeah, a death game. Chapter 2. The Princess and Her 4 Followers. Hang on, let me like put a bookmark as to where chapter 4 ends so I know how much there is to read. Great reading stream. I hope you enjoy it. I do quite a bit of ASMR reading as I don't have a 3DO mic yet, but once I do get the 3DO mic, I'll do more sensory focused ASMR streams as well. In addition to the reading stuff, since you guys do like it, and I like it too. I like sharing different stories and stuff that I like with everyone. Some VTubers cannot read. I'm pretty sure most VTubers can read. They just probably choose not to. Oh no. I guess you mean don't read in like the... I don't know, some people just don't really like reading. I've never really understood people who don't like reading. I think you're missing out. I don't really think I need respect for doing something as basic as reading though. It's pretty easy to do. Anyway, where was I? Chapter 2. The Princess and Her 4 Followers. Magical girls weren't so different from normal humans. In terms of their species, they were humans. And humans that could become magical girls. Here in Brazil, they do not know how to even talk. Portuguese is a difficult language. I hear that it is. It's a pretty language, though. Imagine reading. No, you don't have to read because Koala will read for you. Hahaha. Where was I? Yes. Magical girls weren't so different from normal humans in terms of their species. They were human, and humans that could become magical girls. But the ones who made that leap could no longer be compared with normal people. Magic allowed them to draw forth exponentially more power. To lose the right to become a magical girl is to lose one's essence as a living being. In other words, death. But that's exactly the problem. I'd rather go back to being normal than die. Complain all you like, there's nothing that can be done now. Nothing that can be done? Magical girls are natural-born warriors. Their destiny is to fight. Unflinching in the face of danger, They use brains, courage, and magic to overcome any crisis. The stronger the foe, the greater the joy. Yes. So basically, the premise of this story. Also, I forgot to say thank you for becoming a pack rabbit. Troll. Um, so basically, the premise of this here light novel is there's a game called Magical Girl Raising Project, and one in every tens of thousands of people can become a magical girl. And when you become a magical girl, you get powers and you can do all kinds of things. However, when a magical girl is created, they take a lot of mana from the area that they reside in. And if there's too many magical girls, eventually that mana will run out. And that's bad. So one day, the mascot, his name is Fav, he says there's too many magical girls. So we need to cut down the numbers. We need to go from 16 to 8. And whoever helps the least amount of people in a week, they get cut. And they're not a magical girl anymore. And it turns out that if you become a magical girl and you're not, and then you have your powers taken away, you die. So, the stakes are a lot higher now. Snow White shut off her magical phone, abruptly ending her conversation with Lav. Yeah, you die. A few days ago, she'd read through the logs and found the conversation with Cranberry and the mascot. Which led to a never-ending argument that only spun on its wheels. When she said she'd rather quit than die, Fab revealed that if she quit, she'd die anyway. You should have warned us. No one forced you to pick up the game. I feel like he's pulling a Kyubey right now. He's pulling a Kyubey from Madoka Magica. No one told you to pick up the game. No one asked if becoming a magical girl meant the cost of your mortal soul. Same difference, same character. It's always on you. You gotta ask, everyone. You gotta ask for all of this stuff. These magical companions, they take no responsibility for their actions. My mortal soul alone. There's no reincarnation for the chosen ones. I guess not. On and on the argument stretched. There are like two parallel lines, never meeting in the middle. Snow White sighed. She couldn't tell anyone that, what she was. Doing so would mean she'd forfeit her powers and die. She couldn't even tell her parents or her friends. Her life would end, or she'd perish on the spot. Two days after the chat, a small blurb on the obituary section of the local newspaper revealed that a 24-year-old female, one Nemu Sanjo, had passed. Her time of death was the time the chat had ended. Yeah. I thought you were writing Morse code. Just lines. Dash, 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 dash. Her time of death was the time the chat had ended, and the cause of death was a sudden heart attack, despite no history of illness. All these factors led to one conclusion. That had to have been Nemurin. We're really gonna die. Snow White sighed again, then gazed out at the horizon. With her magically improved eyesight, she could see every detail of the ocean, even from the top of the steel tower. Dozens of fishing boats were setting out for the open ocean. They get to be so carefree, and I have to deal with this. He felt an unreasonable anger inside, but knowing it was irrational just made her feel depressed. I've just been worrying about myself and putting my own life above Nemuru's death. We talked so much, we were such good friends, but after some crying and a night's sleep, all I can think about is myself. I feel guilty. I'm scared to die. My stomach hurts, I want to throw up, but I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I'm scared to die. An electronic beeping brought her back to reality. Next to her was La Pucelle, fiddling on her magical device. What are you doing? She heard a noise that, like the level up chime from an RPG. Mind checking your magical phone for me? Sure, but what are you doing? She turned on her phone and checked the screen. Displayed were the time, humidity, temperature, and her magical candy total. Huh? Assuming her memory wasn't off, you had more magical candy the previous night. It's a role-playing game. The game Magical Girl Racing Project is a role-playing game, yeah. Yet somehow her total had been cut in half. Wait, what the heck happened? Oh my gosh. Calm down, I'll send them back. Again, the same level up sound. And now Snow White's candy total was the same as she remembered. What is this? App told us there had been an update to the magical phones. Oh! I guess they can share candy if they want to. If they want to, they can share candy. And then, so, let's say your friend doesn't have that many and you don't want your friend to die. You can just give your friend some of yours. Yay! Also looks like it can be taken. Yeah, that's a problem. They added the ability to share magical candy. You can do it even if the other phone is off. It takes a little while to complete the transfer though. Oh. Oh, so... It's probably Fab's way of telling us to work together to get more candy, considering the timing of the update. Snow White studied the night sitting next to her. Even with the cold and cloudy night sky as the background, her face was noble and beautiful, and just a little bit excited. So, are you gonna go get candy? Stop calling me so. And if I don't gather candy, I'm gonna get the axe. Literally. So, it's better than nothing. Are you scared, Snow White? I sure am. I don't want to let anyone else die, or die myself. I'd be okay if Calamity Mary died. She's kind of an asshole. I don't want to let anyone else die or die myself. Then I wouldn't be able to see my parents, my friends. I wouldn't be able to watch Magical Girl anime, eat good food, see cool stuff, laugh. I know it's scary. I'm scared too. It wouldn't be. Lapusto's expression hardened, startled. Snow White tried to distance herself, but Lapusto had placed a hand on hers. Snow White swallowed, finding herself unable to reject her. But if we let the fear paralyze us, it'll be on us to stop. It'll be us on the chopping block next. You don't want that, do you? So let's work hard together. Oh. Alright. So let's work hard together. She would have been right at home with the girls on TV she cheered for all these years, ready to challenge even the strongest enemy with a heart determined to protect those important to her. Were the others thinking the same thing? Were they stealing their resolves just as Lapucelle had? Snow White felt like the odd one out for being so scared. Was she the strange one? What would Nemerin say? Snow White recalled her smiling face, all ears to yet another story of adventure. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. Don't worry, don't cry, Snow White. Lapucelle drew her sword from its sheath and offered the handle to her and took a knee. The blade was nearly 2 feet long, its steel sparkling. My sworn friend Snow White, I vow to be your sword, no matter what befalls me. Her words and actions seemed rehearsed, but her eyes were sincere. Despite being told not to cry, Snow White couldn't help but couldn't suppress the great big tears spilling forth. She hugged Lapucelle tightly and put her lips to her ear. Thank you. Sensing the warmth of Lapucelle's body, her face began to burn, glancing at her friend, whose cheeks also seemed to burn a deep shade of red. Ripple had no idea what Top Speed liked about her, but she was acutely aware of her new title, partner. In chat, the witch went on about my partner this and my partner that, and then made sure to let Ripple know, even though she'd never asked. Oh, thanks. No, thanks for the bits. Thanks for the bits, Cody. Hello, Spoon. Hi, welcome in. Get cozy. I'm reading you a story. Fall asleep.
Yes, hi, hello.
Izuni, welcome in. Thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. I'm good, how are you? It annoyed her. The only sounds for her mouth were tongue clicks, but the ninja never turned her away or yelled at, abused, or hit her, instead choosing to let her talk. Top Speed, taking Ripple's silence as approval. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the votes. Showed up against almost daily to pick her up for a night of candy gathering. But Ripple hadn't simply caved. She wouldn't be putting herself through hell for no reason. Ripple's pinpoint accurate shuriken only helped those in need if they were in a very dangerous situation. And those didn't happen every day. Ripple's only recourse was to use her enhanced physical abilities, something any other magical girl could do. She had no special advantage. Top Speed, on the other hand, had the unique ability of flight, thanks to her magic broomstick, Rapid Swallow. This was far more useful than Ripple's ability to throw things. Hello, Izumi, welcome. Hi, how are you? It wasn't a matter of helping people more easily. It was much easier to search from the skies for chances to lend a hand. When she heard about Nemerin's death, Top Speed raged and cried. Ripple, however, calmly considered what actions to take in the future. Of course, she couldn't deny she was angry at the mysterious force for putting her life in danger. And the fear of death was so painful she wanted to clench at her chest to suppress it, but still, she did her best to remain calm. She had to gather candy like her life depended on it, because it literally did. Everything that could be used should be used. If Top Speed provided a unique advantage, He had no choice but to put up with the irritation in silence. From Rapid Swallow's rear seat, she zoomed around her designated area earning spots. Top speed dedication to survival was greater than expected. I can't die, he declared to Ripple with an oddly serious expression. The silence she got in response had prompted an addendum. At least, I need at least another 6 months, she'd whispered. Ripple questioned this oddly specific amount of time, but Top Speed seemingly smiled widely and didn't answer. She wrote it off as more blabbering. So today we'll be flying along the national highway, okay? Roger. I wish there was a place we could earn a little more points, though. Ripple had suggested the red light districts. Would be more profitable, but the largest one in the city was the Ch.1 district. That was Calamity Mary's red territory. And Top Speed had firmly rejected the idea. Ripple had questioned her lack of dedication, considering they could die if they failed. Oh my god! Thank you so much for the bits, Izumi. Oh, thanks a lot, I really appreciate it. Thanks. That's really nice of you, thank you. Where was I? Keep it up and have a nice night. You too. I hope the stream helps you relax. Fall asleep, maybe. Have a nice night too, Izumi. Thank you again. That was Calamity Mary's territory, and Top Speed had firmly rejected the idea. Ripple had questioned her lack of dedication, considering they could die if they failed. But Top Speed insisted it made no sense to put themselves in danger when the goal was to live longer. In the end, they settled on making do with the districts they had been assigned. Nakayado and Kitayado had respectable populations, but the militaristic air of their castle town days was long gone. Thankfully, the people were quite mellow. This was not a bad thing. In fact, she preferred this. But that naturally came with a lower number of opportunities to assist. The two of them stayed up all night searching for problems to solve, even skipping meals, and generally kept quite busy. Of course, once a magical girl has transformed, hunger and fatigue became non-factors. But above all, they didn't want to die. While annoying but useful, thus worth putting up with, was Ripple's appraisal of Top Speed. Something she'd obviously never say out loud. She couldn't help but raise that evaluation a little every time they landed on the roof of the 7th Sanko building. After a ride on her magical broomstick. 투투 나유시래요? Where was I? Since each girl had her own unique ability, forming a team with trustworthy people was the best way to gather candy effectively. But for Ripple, who preferred to be alone, and had always avoided contact with their colleagues other than Top Speed, this was no easy task. For this reason, Top Fleets flew into more of...
Yes,
oh. Dark Key, thanks Darky. Thanks for following. Thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. Good morning. It's actually after 11 for me, but good morning. Welcome in. For this reason, Top Speed flew in 2 more of their number. With her wide network of connections as a regular chat attendee, it was no surprise that she asked a few who could be trusted not to stab them in the back at least. It's 2 a.m. here. I thought this stream was meant to help you fall asleep. Am I not doing a good job? Is that why you're still awake? The two introduced themselves as Sister Nana and Weiss Winter Present. Sister Nana's appearance was obviously that of a nun. Her costume resembled that of the traditional habit, especially the veil and long skirt. Her face had an air of kindness to it. Better stop what? Yeah, a real nun. Hello, Arlie. Welcome in. We're not playing a game tonight. I'm just reading you guys a story. Yet, a real nun would never allow a thigh-high slit on her skirt or wear a garter belt on top of white stockings. Oh yeah, it is Easter. Happy Easter. I'm doing good. Yeah. Ripple wondered if it was just magical girl style to inspire lust with normally impossible combinations. At first glance, Weiss Winter Prison seems to be a man. Her brown hair was trimmed short, and she was a head taller than Ripple. Coat covered in belts, almost like a straitjacket, draped over her body. The scarf around her neck was so long it dangled by her feet, and she used it to hide her mouth. Her austere garb was colored black from head to foot, while her face was beautiful, as befitting a magical heroine. It was an androgynous beauty. The coat around her hid all signs of feminine lines. She most strongly resembled the prince of a foreign country. Listening to your lovely voice, occasionally chatting to you. You do an amazing job. If I fall asleep, I miss your stream. I was so genuinely excited when I walked to the door after work and saw you streaming. Really? I'm happy. I'm happy that I can do that. As long as you're not staying up too late, then I suppose it's fine. I'm happy that that someone out there enjoys my stream so much that they get excited. That makes me so happy. I love streaming for everybody. Always happy when I get a notification. Don't worry, I'll take care of shit off work tomorrow. Yeah. Where was I? It's good to meet you, Ripple. I'm Sister Nana. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. This is Weiss Winter Present. Hi. Sister Nana spoke softly, which to Ripple meant she was slow of mind. What? What? Damn. Did I just catch a stray? I just catch a stray. Winter Prince's voice was slow, her demeanor curt. To Ripple, this was a sign of a superiority complex. Neither made an incredible first impression, but again, no one had ever made a good first impression to Ripple. And that wasn't usually concerning. What was concerning was Top Speed's troubled expression as she dropped them off. After a few more formalities, Sister Nana began. I got one, yeah. I think this is wrong. She got straight to the point. What's wrong? The situation. We were given power to bring peace to the world of man, not to hate, quarrel, and compete among ourselves. What good can this accomplish? She clasped Ripple's hands and drew closer. Ripple frowned, but the nun paid her no mind and continued. It is during times like these that we must band together. Yeah, but what exactly are we supposed to do? Speed asked in Ripple's steed. Sister Nana turned her head to face the witch, her hands still gripping Ripple's, and smiled just gently. That is what we should first consider. If we put our minds together, we can surely come up with a sound idea. Speed grinned awkwardly. Ripple tisked, and Winter Prison coughed. It was entirely possible the cough was meant as a warning to Ripple for clicking her tongue. But either way, Sister Nana continued unfazed. Only the mind of a magical girl can solve this. I submitted a formal complaint to the management through Fav, but it was ignored. Oh, you did? Yes, but it did no good. Fab told me to give up because that's just how things are. But this is not an issue we can afford to give up on. One poor soul has already fallen victim to this vicious system. Nimmerin. What regret and what sadness. What pain she must have felt. The poor thing. A single tear spilled from Sister Nana's eyes. Ripple clicked her tongue, just like the class president he had in 2nd grade. Sister Nana expected people to flock to her side by spouting pretty words. Just like her 7th grade homeroom teacher, she pitied others in order to think of herself as kind. Just like, well, many women, but her mother most of all. She felt no shame in crying. She also didn't seem to be proposing they work together in order to gather candy. Oh. Thanks again. Thank you for the bits, Cody. Ripple rustled her hands free from Sister Nana, sending her toppling into Winter Prison's arms. The nun's shoulders quivered as Winter Prison held her close. Oh, the poor soul. Behind Sister Nana, Winter Prison glowered at Ripple, her eyes ablaze with anger. The jester was turned with murderous intent. The taller girl narrowed her glare. Ripple moistened her lips. Winter Prison stepped in front of Sister Nana as if to protect her. The Nizar moved her right hand to her back and found the hilt of her sword. What did I say about messing with my mortal soul? Alright, I see what you're trying to say. Speed shouted and clasped her hands loudly, attempting to dispel the tension. I need to discuss things with my partner, so let's leave it at that for today, okay? We need to act fast to prevent any more victims. Yeah, I know, understood. Which is exactly why we want to talk things over first. We know how important this is, and that's why we don't want to decide lightly. Sister Nana seemed unsatisfied but begrudgingly nodded, and the two girls hopped on Speed's broom and zipped away. Upon her equally rushed return, Speed put her hands together and bowed deeply to Ripple. Sorry. Go to hell. Seriously, I'm sorry. They just said they wanted to talk, so I was like, why not? I didn't think you'd get so pissed. And on the off chance they had a good idea, why not go along with it? I really don't want to die either. At least not for another 6 months. Why was she so insistent on 6 months? Ripple clicked her tongue. How many times has he done that today? So irritating. It's not like they meant any harm, you know? You guys just don't gel, I guess. And don't go starting fights here. No way I'm gonna let myself die. I'm not getting caught up between some brawl between you and Winter Prison. It seemed to Ripple that Top Speed's insistence on survival wasn't because he was afraid of dying. 6 months, huh? What's in 6 months? Ripple pointed at Top Speed. You're back. It says no gratuitous opinions. Oh. You have no spine. Sheesh, you're harsh. I really don't recommend fighting. A girl named Winter Prison, that's one girl I'll make sure to avoid. Yeah, she definitely doesn't seem like someone you want to mess with. Yeesh, you're harsh. I really don't recommend fighting Winter Prison, though. Remember what I said before? Apparently she saved Sister Nana from Calamity Mary by tackling her head-on. Sister Nana told me all about it with a little blush. Ripple remembered Sister Nana's tears as she lay in Winter Prison's arms and scowled. That they didn't gel wasn't even the half of it. The point was, Nana's plan wouldn't do any good. She's not a bad person. Delusional religious fanatics disgust me. I don't think she's exactly delusional, more like rotten, I think. Oh, either way, we're back to patrolling the roads for candy. We still need to defend ourselves. We can just run away. I'm the fastest in town, you know? They don't call me Top Speed for nothing. I'll always leave the rear seat open so I can swoop down and rescue you. So no one will ever catch us. That's why I'm playing this game fair and square. I'll keep watch from the skies and intervene when something happens. That should be enough to land us lots of candy. Ripple knew any further discussion would prove fruitless, so she silently sat behind Top Speed and wrapped her hands around her waist. N-City's Nishimosen was crowded with temples, from ground enormous structures to tiny ones tucked away between buildings. Shrines lined the streets. And all of the temples in Nishimosen, Okusutsu was the oldest, or rather, the most decrepit. It was not some ancient and storied place. It had no one to look after it, and it had simply been left to rot. It was as far as the middle of the town went. It wasn't It wasn't a bad place to hide magical girls, specifically 5 of them. Ruler fingered her tiara, then adjusted its position, and sat down, using her long cape as a cushion. As you know, our magical phones have received an update. As she spoke, Ruler focused on a decapitated statue of a Bodhisattva. Kneeling there was a girl in swimwear. Ruler found herself thinking that if the pure white swimsuit and goggles dangling for her neck reflected her identity as a swimmer, then the headphones and curls were pointless additions, serving as magical girl chic. The swimsuit meant for younger girls combined with that voluptuous body made for a morally indecent picture. This update allows us to move magical candy between us. A few feet in front of her was a girl with dog-like ears, only her head visible above the hole in the dirt floor. According to her, she must, she felt most at home in holes she had dug herself. She wore a hooded cape, and her dog ears peeked out from the holes on the top. Paw gloves covered her hand, and around her neck hung a collar. The patches of fur on her outfit and tights were white with black polka dots. And her shorts had a hole in them, to allow her tail to poke through. Does everyone understand what this means? Perched on a beam was a crow wearing a ruby necklace. The next second, it was a black cat in boots. The second after that, 2 magical girls sat in its place, swan-like wings on their backs, and rings of light on their heads. Despite their many forms, this was their true one. They appeared to be 10 years old. Their dresses and headbands were matching navy blue. Their blouses and drawers were white. Perfectly matched like members of a choir. There are only 2 ways to tell the girls apart. Whether their short bobbed hair was flipped under out, and whether the ribbon each wore around their ankle was on the left or the right. Those who have lots of candy should share with those who don't. The dog-eared Tama cocked her head and made a suggestion, to which Ruler responded coldly. 0 points. We should form teams and try to make sure we all have enough candy? Oh, that sounds right. Sis, you're so mega cool. The twin angels, Minail and Uniel, also known as the Peaky Angels, pointed at each other. 30 points, Ruler announced. Swim, what do you think? The girl dressed for the pool, Swim, said not a word but shook her head. Her sizable breasts shook in unison with her head. Ruler spat silently. She was not particularly endowed, neither as a regular human, nor in her transformed state, and she had a considerable complex about it. I'm surrounded by idiots. She glared at them all. Idiots, every last one of you. The Peaky Angels looked away. Tama lowered her ears apologetically, and Swim continued to stare at Ruler without moving. They weren't the only idiots Ruler was referring to, however. Every last magical girl running around to help others in an effort to save themselves after Nimurin's death was an idiot. This is a message from the management. They're telling us to steal from each other. What? We're allowed to steal, really? You don't need anyone's permission. We can just take their magical phone and perform the transfer ourselves. I've already tried it. Seriously? That's amazing. If all you're capable of is kissing ass, then shut up, you obnoxious idiots. Twin angels once again averted their eyes. Ruler snorted, then continued. I'm going to have you follow my orders. Work hard if you don't want to end up like Nimurin. Orders? What are you going to make us steal? She wanted to yell at them for trying to kiss ass again, but Ruler decided it was more important to proceed than to give the twins a tongue lashing. Simple. We'll steal from the one with the most candy, Snow White. Sanane Mokuo had been so happy to become a magical girl, and finally attained the greatness she deserved. She had gone to highly acclaimed elementary and middle schools. Then it was high school, university, and straight to employment at a top-class company. All the while, she had been surrounded by idiots. She constantly wondered why she was forced to work with morons who couldn't understand her value. And she even said so out loud. Because of that, she had no friends and had spent her whole life alone. She'd picked up Magical Girl Raising Project as a pastime, And when she transformed, she had finally had a clear answer to her internal question of why all the stupid people around her couldn't recognize her worth. She was the ugly duckling. Though she was a swan among them, none of the ducks appreciated her beauty. That day, Saane quit her job. Ch.1 in the mirror filled her with pride. Her illustrious satin cloak, encrusted with jewels, flowed all the way down to the floor, an eagle with a jewel in its claws topped her yard-long ivory scepter, and long gloves fit for a party, and a tiara finished off the set. The tiara was small and simple in its design, but the diamond embedded on it was of unnatural size and clarity. The ornaments held her regal purple updo in place. While her feet rested in glass slippers, her eyelashes were so long you could almost hear them when she blinked. She had no need for foundation or makeup. She was free of all the miscellaneous chores she hated as a normal human. Now she could join her fellow swans. But Sanae's joy vanished when she met her mentor, Calamity Mary. The other girl smoked a cigar, blowing smoke in Sanae's face, and looked back at her bottle of booze at regular intervals. The minute Sanae decided that she had enough of her delinquency and stood up to leave, a gunshot rang out. An explosive roar boomed from behind her. She turned to see a hole nearly 10 feet wide in the wall behind her. Don't go against me, don't give me any trouble. Don't piss me off, okay? Sanae was frozen, half sitting, half standing. Okay. At some point, Calamity Mary's gun had made it to her head. The only explanation for the hole in the wall was that a bullet from that gun had created it. But no pistol was capable of such results. Is this your magic? Why are you asking me that? I asked you a question first, little girl. So answer. Not like an idiot if you have to, okay? After a long time, Sanae nodded deeply. Okay. Good answer. Her quick draw was fearsome. Sanae hadn't even seen her take out her weapon, let alone cock the hammer or fire. By the time the wall had exploded, everything was over. Calamity Mary blew away the smoke trailing from the barrel of the gun with a quick puff, spun it a few times, then holstered it in one smooth motion. Then she tilted back her bottle of booze and gulped loudly. The amber liquid dripped from the corner of her lips and splashed onto her breasts. Sanae's blood boiled from the humiliation, and she bit her lip. She had been powerless, cowed by violence. She understood her own magic, of course, and was satisfied with its strength, but Calamity Mary had completely outclassed her in speed. If she tried to use magic on her, she was more likely to end up with a hole in her, just like the wall. She understood her own body, and while it wasn't as fragile as the wall, the best she could hope for was a critical injury. At worst, she'd die instantly. Basically, she was no different from a normal human facing a normal gun. The moment she had become a swan, her head had been wrapped and shoved underwater. It had been grabbed and shoved underwater. Sanae chewed on the humiliation and learned her lesson. What she needed were bodyguards. She realized human shields that could withstand punishment until she could cast her magic on Calamity Mary and exact her revenge. Thus, every time a new girl joined, she volunteered whenever she could to be their mentor, solicited the easily manipulated ones, and formed her own faction, and consisted of the slow-headed Tama, the Viki Angels who blindly followed any and all orders, and the taciturn Swim. Tama was a dog, a foolishly faithful creature who obeyed a strong owner. No matter how many times she was beaten or kicked, she would continue to wag her tail happily for her master. When Sanae gave her a collar, she joyously ran laps around the temple. The Peaky Angels were cowed. One strong word from her rendered them speechless. Sanae still had no idea which one was you now and which one was me now, but they never made a fuss about it. Swimsun's silence stemmed from ignorance. Sanae had once discovered her staring at the Nishimonen dictionary directory sign. When asked why, the girl responded with, "What does this mean?" While pointing at the English letters of Nishinosen, she remembered everything she was told. So it wasn't that her memory was terrible, but she often couldn't read simple kanji either. They did say women with big breasts were stupid, though. All of her followers were idiots. None of them could think and act on their own, but by following Sanae's orders, they could do something of significance. They were happier this way, even if they had to die for her. The Peaky Angels agreed to the candy theft strategy easily, saying, "Sure, that's easier. Super cool, huh?" And Swim nodded silently, but Tama was the only one who couldn't get past the ethical problem. Should magical girls be stealing from others? You have to listen to what the leader says, Swim warned. And in the end, Tama too nodded. Ruler had a rough understanding of Snow White's usual patterns, but to confirm that nothing had changed recently, she sent out Tana and the Peaky Angels to scout. Only she and Swimsun stayed behind at Osetsuchi. Ruler found herself repeatedly glancing at Swim, sitting on her knees, not moving a muscle. She just wouldn't move, so finally, Ruler opened her mouth. "Why are you on your knees?" "This is the proper position to assume before your honored leader." "Is that something I told you?" "Yes." She had a high habit of reciting Ruler's past instructions at every opportunity. She remembered everything, even the meaningless insults and thoughtless, narcissistic declarations Ruler had forgotten herself. She had accepted Swimsun's behavior as simple loyalty, but there were times it had wore on her. Just as you may not tell regular humans about your true identity, you may not share it with other magical girls without my permission. Your leader must be the object of your affection. The organization is most effective when everyone tries to imitate her. Above all, deal with strong enemies swiftly. Never let down your guard. Even after becoming a magical girl and gaining mystical powers, if any enemies that can fight us exist, they too will have similar powers. Sometimes she'd run her mouth based on whatever was happening at the time, but Swim remembered it all. Ruler walked over to her, crouched down, and patted her head. Even an idiot can be slightly bearable if she fills her head with noble things. Noble things like what? Ruler smiled and answered, her voice cold as ice. My words. Ruler's strategy was simple. It had to be her or brainless subordinates. It had to be, or her brainless subordinates would fail to keep up. Make stupid mistakes and bungle the entire operation. They would attack the Kubehama Steel Tower, where Lapucel and Snow White met, before they could join forces. I knew they made up because they left discussions mentioning the fact in the chat log. My idiots aren't the only ones, it seems. She gloated when she found the logs. But it wasn't because they met there. But just because they met there didn't mean they arrived at the same time. There was a small middle of time one would be alone. If Lapucel arrived first, the Peaky Angels and Tama would attack, and attempt to delay her. Then, when Snow White showed up, Ruler and Swimson would attack and steal her candy. If Snow White arrived first, the order would be reversed. Ruler had no experience in battles between magical girls, nor did she have any information on what kind of special powers they'd be up against. It was concerning, but the same went for her opponents. Most likely Lapuso or Snow White had never fought another of their kind before, and no one knew what kind of magic Ruler's group was capable of. Tama's ability to instantly dig holes was suited to ambushes, and Peaky's Angel's abilities to transform and fly were perfect for diversions. Ruler's magic was unbeatable as long as she had a guard, which made Swimson perfect for the job. Where was I? Since she could nullify physical attacks with her magic, as a team, they weren't too shabby. As long as the idiots don't make stupid mistakes, then the magical candy theft would be a success. This would be a practice run, a test of sorts. If they succeeded, they could move on to the next step, assaulting Calamity Mary and stealing her candy. Ruler's humiliation still smoldered, and its embers would never be extinguished until Calamity Mary was on her knees. There, I see La Pucelle. The Peaky Angels reported through their devices. Apparently they had spotted La Pucelle from their vantage point above. She's running toward the tower. She's pretty fast with all that armor. Execute the plan accordingly. Swim and Ruler leaped from the bushes beneath the steel tower and began to ascend. La Pucelle slowed when she noticed the two angels descending upon her. Yunael and Minael together formed the Peaky Angels. She'd seen them in the chat before, but never in real life. The sneers on their faces half explained what was going on, but their next action, simultaneous dive kicks from the front and back, made their intentions perfectly clear. She dived off the gravel path and rolled over some bushes, drew her sword from its sheath, and still crouched, pointed its tip at the twin angels. With one hand, she easily wielded the 2.5-foot blade, stopping it on a dime. What do you want? What do you want, she asks. Isn't it obvious? Candy, please. Her blood boiled with anger at the magical girls so weak-willed that they instantly turned to stealing others' hard-earned reward. And at just a tiny bit of excitement to unleash her full power. Ever since she obtained this strength, she's dreamed of a victory over a powerful enemy. The twin angels flipped their body-length wings and circled from above. They seemed to be looking for the right moment to strike. They definitely attack as soon as she tried to stand. The puzzle slowly moved her left hand, then stopped. Something was vibrating ever so slowly, below. Just as the circling angels rocketed towards La Pucelle, a 3-foot-wide hole opened up below her. If she didn't jump, the opening would swallow her, but if she did jump, the angels would attack her while she was unable to move freely in the air. Boy's choices would land her in the worst-case scenario, so she chose neither. Instantly she reacted, jamming her sword beneath the feet and jumping on it. Width, length, and thickness all grew to 5 times the original side, until the sword could support La Pucelle and keep her from falling into the hole. This was La Pucelle's magic, to change the side of her sword at will. She could choose the perfect length for any moment. She could hear the scratching from within the hole, but it was impossible to nick the enchanted sword. Hesitation flashed across the angels' faces. They tried to stop their descent, but instead they lost their balance in mid-air. Noticing this, La Pucelle leaped off of her sword and swung her sheath at one of the angels. The angel tried to dodge, but was surprised when she couldn't. She thought she was far enough away, but failed to account for the sheath's newly gigantic size as well. The sword wasn't the only thing that could expand. The sheaf covering it was also capable of this. Its flat side connected, smacking the angel to the ground. Lapusa landed and dashed towards the hole, striking her sword to a little under 2 feet. With the cover hole gone, someone appeared from inside it. Hey, what the heck? Emma popped her head out from the ground, sensing something was amiss. Lapusa attacked without mercy. The solid kick to her temple sent Tama flying straight back into the hole with a muffled grunt. Their formation broken, Lapusa picked up her sword and turned to face her last enemy. What do you want? She repeated the question she'd asked when they first attacked, but the angel was gone. All she could see was a single crow cocking its head at her. Lapusa glanced back at the angel she had brought down, but no one was there. Either, just a rubber ball. Before she could figure out what was happening, the crow took flight, picked up the ball, and flew off toward the steel tower. Their forms stretched, bent in warmth, and changed color until they were no longer a crow and a ball, but 2 angels. Transformation? Is that their magic? That's a good enough inversion, right, sis? Yeah, no problemo. A diversion? Time to drive and fall asleep. Oh no, don't drive and fall asleep, but you can fall asleep. We're almost done this chapter. After we're done chapter 2, we will end the stream. It's only a couple more pages. Hello, lazy bird. Welcome. Lapusa looked up at the top of the steel tower. She could see 1, 2, 3 silhouettes. Clearly Snow White was not alone up there. Her blood boiled and chilled in an instant. Damn it. She cursed loudly, unbecoming of a gallant knight, and ran up the tower after the 2 angels. Meanwhile, the plan went perfectly for Ruler and Swim. They scaled the steel tower and attacked the magical girl standing there. The one in the white school uniform, and the darling of the internet sites. Without a doubt, she was Snow White, her face twisted in fright as she looked from Ruler to Swim. With what? What? She asked, voice quivering. She looked and sounded more like a civilian than a fighter.
Yes,
A victim more than a perpetrator. Thanks for becoming a pack rabbit, lazy bird. Welcome in. Clearly she had no intent to fight. Fool, do you still not realize what I'm here for? Or do you just not want to fight, even knowing what I want? Either way, you're a fool. Ruler venomously thought to herself. She raised her staff, her royal scepter, pointed it at Snow White, and made her royal decree. In the name of Ruler, I order you, Snow White, not to move. Snow White froze as she prepared to run, her face still taut with fear. Swim took out her phone, aimed it at Snow White, and began the Chandy transfer. This was Ruler's magic, the ability to make others obey her decrees. Her power had a few rules. She had to point her scepter at them and strike a pose. She had to hold the pose and keep the decree She had to hold the pose to keep the decree active. She had to say, in the name of Ruler, and she had to not be more than 15 feet from the person. She could have a maximum of 4 people under her command. However, such an ability was powerful enough to require such limitations. Once she made her decree, it was checkmate. The Peaky Angels, Tama, and Swim weren't aware that she had restrictions. She merely explained that her magic allowed her to order others around. She wasn't foolish enough to tell her subordinates her own weaknesses. It was much more convenient for them to think that she was an all-powerful leader. The decree, give me your candy, would have been less complicated than do not move. But it didn't prevent the problem of an immediate counterattack once the candy was transferred. So, she prioritized safely. Ruler was clever, and clever people were careful. Swim, are you done yet? Almost. Honestly, this pose is tiring, you know. Just a little more and I'll be... Swim cut off. Ruler looked where she was gazing, and down, it's looking where she was gazing below them. The two angels hurtled toward the tower behind them. She could see a knight charging through the gravel and leaving a cloud of dust in her wake. Ah, thanks for the head hat, Teddy. Where was I? Idiot. Those idiots, stupid. They couldn't even manage a distraction? Snow White was under attack. Images of her crying and afraid, and finally of the human of Koyuki Himikawa, popped into Lapusel's head. She felt like her heart was being ripped in two, but at least the blood had been pounding angrily in her head was now circulating through her body. To Lapusel, Sota Kishibe, a magical girl was a heroine who fought. He had no problems with the old school one who solved problems around the neighborhood, but to him, they were warriors who stood bravely in the face of enemies, and never gave up protecting what was important to them. At the top of the steel tower, Snow White needed rescue. However, if Lapusel just ran straight up, the flying duo was sure to attack her. If the peaky angels had completely lost the will to fight... yeah, I stream for 3 to 6 hours usually. Weird. Anyway. She forced the two in a mid-air battle. If they attacked while she scared the tower with no stable footing. Even if she did win, it would only help them with their goal of stalling for time. Her opponents had the numbers and terrain advantage. The fight probably wouldn't be over quickly. For all the exhilaration she felt at finally being able to unleash her full power. Oh. Mwah. She was acutely aware of her limits. I really am a natural-born warrior, she gloated. But soon she snapped herself out of it. She didn't have many options to save Snow White. In the few seconds before she reached the tower, Usul observed and thought and found a solution and acted on it. She charged at the tower with everything she had, and shoulder tackled one of the legs with all of her momentum, weight, and power. From below, the tower's shaking seemed violent, but at the top it was far worse. The power lines snapped and flailed in the air. They felt like they could almost touch the ground. The shuddering was so violent, Rumor posing with her scepter. I guess I could be an Easter bunny because I'm a bunny girl. I guess so, huh? Meanwhile, Lapusel raced to intercept Snow White's deadly plunge. She caught her, and the two stumbled about 30 feet before stopping in some bushes. Ruler glared angrily at Snow White and Lapusel, dangling by the arms between the peaky angels. They had saved her from the fall, but the position was hardly elegant and only infuriated her. Swim, on the other hand, had no one to save her and would hit the ground. Luckily, her magic would allow her to nullify the damage. Once they all grouped up, they'd be 4 against 2. As Driller thought about this, she remembered something. Where's Tama? Lapuso kicked her and that was it. Don't know if she's alive or dead. This was the same knight who had managed to shake the giant steel tower, nearly toppling or even breaking it. It wasn't hard to imagine one blow taking Tama out of commission. So considering the fact that Tama and the Peking Angels had roundly lost a 3-on-1. Okay, let's retreat. Huh? Seriously? It's a strategic receipt. Stop boastering and stop blathering and about face, right? As Snow White and Lapuso picked themselves up, the angels made their escape with a sharp turn to the right, leaving the pair behind. Ultimately, the cowardly seeming strategic retreat turned out to be correct. Tama made her way back to Ochuchi on her own. Her memories were a bit scrambled, but then again her brain was normally scrambled. So Ruler deemed it not a problem. Swim had not just returned, but returned victoriously after completing her quest. She had succeeded in stealing Snow White's magical candy and come home in style. Her magical candy stores, formerly 826 pieces, had jumped to 2,914 pieces after the operation. She had taken 2,088 pieces, which is more than anyone in their group, including Ruler, possessed by a factor of 2. She collected 2,000 pieces on her own? How do you even get that many? So what do we do with the candy? We snagged 2,088 divided by 5. That's 417. Remainder 3. It's uneven. Oh, you're so good at math. No, there's no remainder. Your math had been correct, but they had used the wrong equation. Ruler had corrected them. Sorry, I lost my place. 826 from... Oh! Oh my gosh, Cinnabon, we are. Welcome. Welcome everyone. Hi, welcome raiders. Be great, hi. Hello, welcome. Hi, I'm Kahalo Nai. I am a dream delivery girl, ASM artist.
Yes, hi, hello.
I'm currently working on my debut and stuff. We're in the pre-debut stages. But yeah, I do a lot of ASMR content and I play cozy games and horror games and all that kind of stuff. Thanks for following. Thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. Yes. Thank you so much for the raids and the bunny. I didn't mean to put that on. I will take care of your lovely little community, while you rest up. I appreciate it so much. If you need to raid and run, I totally understand, and if you like cozy stuff, then yeah, I'm your girl. We're not naughty, we're well behaved. Well, we'll see about that. I do my best to wrangle in my chat every day, so don't you worry. Welcome, we're just we're doing a reading of Magical Girl Raising Project. It's a very interesting light novel about a bunch of magical girls who there's an ad. playing, which is a little annoying, but oh well. It's about magical girls who it's about a mobile game that turns people into magical girls, but only a select number of people can be magical girls at any given time. So I guess the developers or upper management decides there needs to be a calling. uh, and here's the thing, if you lose your magical powers, you die. So the stakes are pretty high, yeah. So if that's something you're interested in and you want to listen to cool stuff, yeah. Where was I? A26 from 2094 from 2094 gives 2088. So far you're correct. The rest is wrong. Now, what makes you think we're splitting it evenly? $2,088 divided by 2 is 1,044, which goes to me, the leader. The other half divided by 2 again, which is 522. That's Swim's share. Divided by 3 is 174. Uniel, Meniel, and Tama, that's your share. Perfect. The Runtown Temple went silent. The hushed stillness, which should have been normal for the abandoned temple, was eerie. Ruler immediately broke the silence, and silence she created. Anyone have anything to say? She glared. We have you incapable idiots who couldn't even do the job you were given. A helpful idiot who actually managed to fulfill her task, and me, the leader, the creator of the plan, and executor of the most important role. So, what would make you think we get equal rewards? Are you stupid? Oh, yes you are. I knew that. You're senseless, incapable, and can't even stall one person 3-on-1. You're honestly screwed. You almost screwed up the whole plan. But out of the kindness of my heart, I'll forget this. Ruler pointed at each of them in turn and scowled. Twin angels looked away. Tama's ears drooped, and Swim just listened, kneeling with perfect posture. Ruler snorted and jabbed at her specter into the temple ground. Know your place, idiots. Just be grateful you haven't been punished. Hat number 2. Now it's time for this week's chat, but it seems we're missing a few people today. I hope they don't think they can just check the logs later. No one seems to be talking much either, so let's make this a little more bright and fun. That's what magical girls are all about. But now, back on topic. Let's talk about something happier. A new girl will be joining us this week. She doesn't appear to be here. She's probably just shy. Still, please try to attend next week, okay? Promise. You're drawing? What are you drawing? This week was Ruler. Too bad. Looks like you tried really hard, but you just barely won. You just barely lost. Hey, say all you like. Fab is in the pickle, too. Oh, and this week's top earner was Snow White. Congrats on 2 weeks straight. Everyone gather lots of candy and aim from the top. We'll see you here next week. Bye-bye. The chat ended. Only Tama, Swim, the Peaky Angels, Ruler, Cranberry, and Fab had been in attendance. Everyone was probably on high alert and considered the others their enemies.
Yes, hi, hello.
Mr. Random, thanks for becoming a pet rabbit. Welcome. Man, that worked perfectly. So cool, huh? The fading light illuminated the rundown temple grounds of Otsutsu in Nishi-Senmon. The peaky angels weren't even attempting to hide their glee as they high-fived. Hi, welcome. As they high-fived, clapped, and hugged. They paid Tama and Swim Swim no mind. The former's expression was mournful, while the latter displayed no emotions. Greetings from Mexico. Hi. This elicited more from the angels. The nasty girl is gone. Miss, I'm better than you. Miss, I won't share the candy. Miss, you're nothing but idiots and morons. Seriously, what a nasty girl. To the peaky angels, Ruler had been nothing but trouble. She was haughty, greedy, and whenever she opened her mouth, it was to insult or belittle. Had she known how Mina El and Yuna El talked behind her back? In Tama's eyes, Ruler had been a scary person. Her reasons were the same as the twin angels. But Swim Swin had known, to the three of them on some other level. Greetings from South Korea. Oh, very far away. Welcome. I think it's the cool thing about Twitch is that you can talk to people from all over the world. I really love that. Where was I? But Swim Swim had known, to the three of them, on some level or another, Ruler was a hindrance. So much so that they would easily agree to getting rid of her. So what do we do with this? I see. Well, I guess you don't really need to understand to enjoy ASMR, huh? Well, that's okay. You can still get cozy. Enjoy your time. I don't know, maybe you'll improve by... I've heard a lot of people have improved their English by listening to, like, English, speaking streams, so... just naturally over time, just by listening. So who knows, maybe that'll happen. Swim Swin were discussing the body of a perfectly ordinary young woman in her late 20s. She had a cardigan over her pajamas and sandals on her feet. Do we really have to go through all that trouble, though? Oh, good point. Let's just dump her somewhere in the middle of the night. Someone will find her in the morning. Yeah, let's do that. Ruler had screamed, why, how, until her very last breath. Even laying on the ground as a normal human, her hands were outstretched as she was trying desperately to grab onto something. Swim Swim had stood up and went over to Tama, who was hugging her knees, covering her ears, and shivering. Bending down to her eye level, she soothed her with a pat on the head. Her tears welled in Tama's eyes. Swim Swim relaxed her face, lifted the corner of her mouth slightly, and simply, that's okay. She patted the other girl on the head again. I'll take care of her body, she declared, picking it up and slinging it over her shoulder. I think it's kind of... It definitely takes inspiration from Madoka Magica. Definitely with the whole, like, dark magical girl thing going on. But it's different than that. Basically, there's an app called Magical Girl Raising Project. And a handful of... And if you play the game, you have a chance to become a magical girl, but only a handful of people can be a magical girl at a time. So I guess the higher ups, the game devs, whatever, they decide that every week from now on, whoever is the least productive magical girl gets cut and loses their powers. However, if you lose your powers as a magical girl, you die, which is not good. So yeah, the stakes are pretty high. Where was I? You don't have to do that, Swim. Yeah, you're our new leader. We're disbanding. You're all free to do as you please. Behind her, the peaky angels still tried to argue, but Swim ignored them and pushed open the temple's doors. As always, they creaked loudly. She remembered how, when Ruler was alive, he had told them to oil it. Swim ducked into the Nishimosen Valley. No moon was out. Compared to other areas, Nishimosen had barely any street lamps. Some residents complained, but the local government never responded to the complaints, so the alley was dark. She couldn't sense anyone following her. Ruler has always said, "You're free to do as you please," when she got fed up with them. But the angels and Tama seemed to be obeying. She had idolized Ruler. When she suddenly became a magical girl, she had no idea what to do. It was Ruler who had came and taught her. She reminded her of the princesses in her dreams, and Swim loyally carried out her teaching. Your leader must be the object of your affection. The organization is most effective when everyone tries to imitate her. And so Swim obeyed. Her mentor was a princess, and princesses were always right. She was strong, clever, lovely, and overflowing with leadership. Swim tried to be like her, but Ruler herself was the biggest thing in the way of that goal. Two rulers meant that neither was truly in charge. Because Ruler stood above all, Swim adored and revered her. But in order for her to take the final step, her leader had to die. That night, she realized this. The night she realized this, Swim threw up everything she had eaten that day and broke into a fever. She skipped 2 days of school, but it had to be done. Swim wanted to be like Ruler more than anything. But Ruler's magic was powerful. Swim would had to work hard to take her out. She knew the peaky angels and Tama were unhappy with Ruler, but with her help, she could still deal with the Ruler's orders. She decided to wait for the right opportunity. It wasn't long before that chance presented itself. The plot to steal Snow White's magical candies. Of Snow White's nearly 50,000 candy, she took 37,000. Grabbed the dazed Tamba underneath the steel tower and forced 30,000 onto her, and reported to Ruler that there had only been 2,000 pieces. The 35,000 pieces he had given to Tama split evenly between all the magical girls except for Ruler, Snow White, and Lapuzzle. Some were suspicious, some were on guard, some were all openly hostile. Some fired before asking questions. Nobody welcomed them, even though they were there to share candy, but nobody turned them down. She used Fav to contact the others. His connection with everyone allowed him to contact any magical girl, even if they tried to hide where they were. Fav was short-spoken and tended not to explain well, but he tried to help as much as he could when asked. Swim had learned this from Ruler too. Divided among 11 people, the 3,500 pieces gave them. The 35,000 pieces gave them 3,180 each. She'd left Snow White with more than 10,000 pieces, meaning if she'd split it evenly with Lapuzzle, they'd each have 5,000. So Ruler, convinced that her 1,044 pieces meant that she wouldn't possibly get the axe, ended up with the lowest amount of candy. Peking Angels had enthusiastically agreed to the plan, and Tama, though clearly a little guilty, also agreed. They accepted Swim as their leader. She had succeeded in taking out Ruler without giving her a chance to use her magic, or even realize she had been betrayed. She laid the body at the end of the main street. It was light to carry, even for someone without magical strength, and long gone cold. Goodbye, and thank you for everything. Swim bowed deeply, turned her back on Ruler's corpse, and disappeared into the darkness of the valley. Ruler was gone, but she left behind her many teachings. No matter what the future held, she'd stay true to them. Wiping a tear with her fingertip, Swim ran off into the gloom. Alright. I did say I was going to read chapter 3, but we're already like 3 hours into the stream. So I think that's a good spot to start for now. We'll continue next week. Drink water. Yeah. Hang on. Yeah, I will. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. You didn't fall asleep driving, good. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. I hope I helped you guys relax. I hope I helped you all relax tonight, and I'll see y'all on Tuesday. Oh, W4Gen, thanks for going a pack rabbit. We're gonna start reading chapter 5 of Higurashi starting on Tuesday. So, yeah. The mystery continues with Higurashi starting on Tuesday. But I'll see you guys later. And you can expect a new ASMR video on the YouTube channel on Monday. So yeah. Thank you for coming. Good night, everyone. I'll send you guys to another ASMR artist. Yes. Where is your channel? See who's also doing ASMR right now. Doesn't seem that anyone's doing that right now. So I guess no raid tonight then. Well, because everyone who's streaming currently is kind of loud, so I will see you guys tomorrow. On Tuesday, actually. Okay, bye bye.